A former police sergeant is expected to present her bail application in the Brakpan Magistrates Court today after being added as the sixth accused in the murder case of businessman Emmanuel Mbense. Yuan Marie Exian appeared in court yesterday for the first time since her arrest. Exian, along with suspended EMPD Chief Julius Mkhwanazi, faces charges of murder, robbery with aggravating circumstances, and defeating the ends of justice. Exian is the partner of the late Viandre Pretorius, a former police reservist who was also implicated in the Mbense case. Dimakato Leshuro has more.
At the time of his death, Viandre Pretorius was linked to allegations into the killing of Madlanga Commission witness Marius van der Merwe, known as Witness D. He died by suicide in February, allegedly shooting himself at a Brakpan petrol station in front of his partner, Yuan Marie Exian. The state alleges Emmanuel Mbense was killed and his body dumped at Spaarwater Dam near Nigel in an attempt to conceal the crime. Senior State Prosecutor Advocate Nceba Ntelwa is opposing bail, arguing the accused are flight risks and could interfere with witnesses. The state alleges that after Mbense's murder, members of the group met twice, and on one of those occasions, Kobus Janse van Rensbeck, Marius van der Merwe, and Jaco Hanekom were apparently identified as potential weaklings who could turn against the group. Van der Merwe was later killed, allegedly by Matipandile Soteni, while Hanekom, who allegedly provided police with information about Julius Mkhwanazi's involvement in a copper theft case, was also later killed. Dimakato Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Western Cape Police Oversight and Community Safety MEC Unra Murray has welcomed the arrest of a prison warden in Goodwood, Cape Town. The 47-year-old was taken into custody earlier this week following the discovery of drugs, cell phones and other contraband in his car during a joint operation at the Goodwood prison. Murray says this arrest highlights the critical importance of rooting out corruption in the criminal justice system.
The alleged conduct of this warden is particularly concerning because the consequences extend far beyond the contraband found in his vehicle. When correctional officials allow drugs and other contraband to enter correctional facilities, they potentially provide criminals with the means to continue operating from behind prison walls.
And new mineral sales are expected to boost slightly the country's economy. Statistics South Africa's latest data shows the value of mineral sales reached 81.6 billion rand in June. This is up from about 67 billion rand a year earlier. The biggest driver was gold. Annelita Fandese has more.
The Stats SA data shows gold did much of the heavy lifting, with its sales value more than doubling from a year earlier. Platinum group metal sales also rose, up 27% and contributing 7.3 percentage points to the overall jump. The surge in sales comes while mining production was under pressure in June, with the value of what was being sold remaining much stronger. The data shows a clear contrast. The volume of production is under pressure, but the value of mineral sales is being supported by strong prices. Annelita Fandese, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,334.28 an ounce. The rand is at 16.19 to the dollar, 21.86 to the pound, 18.69 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $87.88 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the Mike 1 North between Boysons Road and the Kran turnoff. That's due to an accident there. There's also an accident reported right along the N3 North approaching the Kilulis interchange. Please be on the lookout there.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: suspended MP Fadil Adams is set to return to the Pinetown Magistrates Court today, where he's accused of fraud in defeating the ends of justice.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Friday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you are good this morning, and I hope your week has been going well so far. Every Friday, we do Gratitude Friday on the 702 open line. This is where you can call us on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 and tell us what you are grateful for this week. I'm grateful that the weekend is upon us because, wow, what a stressful week. What are you grateful for? What happened this week that put a smile on your face? Please share that with us. We want to celebrate with you. Did you follow the Madlanga Commission yesterday? The commission heard testimony of the father of the late alleged gang leader, Bevan Loftus. Bevan, remember, was killed during a KwaZulu-Natal cash and transit task team operation in April back in 2023. And his father has come out now to claim that his son was never involved in the drug trade or in the killing of people. This is what he was saying and questioned about at the commission yesterday.
Are you saying that insofar as you are concerned, insofar as you were with him, you can't say he had a mean reputation or a bad reputation?
No, I can't.
You say that you were not with him.
To that extent, yes. It's obvious I'm not around to see what he's doing.
Then if you turn to page 1185, and then this is after the shooting. Former Police Minister Cele was interviewed by ENCA. And this is what it says. Well, let me read what it says rather entirely. The third paragraph. Cele arrived on the scene after the shooting and addressed the media. According to clips from ENCA and the SABC, Cele says, these guys have been profiled. They have been causing havoc. He continued, the syndicate seems to be much bigger than what we see. It's a group of guys who looked like the nucleus of this nonsense of drug turf wars. Cele said they went around eliminating their opposition. Sticking thing, Cele said, was that Loftus had a very long list of cases against him that were withdrawn. Let me just pause there. You would say, based on what we discussed, that insofar as you are concerned and insofar as you've been with Bevan, let me just push it further, you would say this is not true.
Of the cases being withdrawn?
Of what Cele says, which he says, as the police, they've profiled the Bevan and friends, they are part of a syndicate, this whole thing is part of drug turf wars.
I disagree with that.
See, that's the father defending his son. But this was contradicted when Captain Ashley Houston from the SAPS testified. This is what he told the commission about this chap, Bevan Loftus.
Bevan was arrested by me on request of the station commissioner saying there's a case open. I do not have the case number, by the way, where he had threatened to shoot a policeman. The policeman's name was Warrant Officer James. He was working in the one crime prevention unit, but not direct under me. He works alternative to the group that I was working. And what the station commissioner disclosed to me was that nobody wants to arrest him, as to go for him, because there was a fear. Sorry, I'm just having water too. So I did a patrol with my team. I looked for Bevan. I couldn't find him. I didn't go into the Bluff area, which is like beyond my patrol area when I was at Wentworth. I left it and I said, I'll obviously come across him because he's notorious in the Wentworth area.
See, that's what the police are saying. And I'm playing you these clips because I remembered as I was watching this testimony yesterday that we had a conversation just the other day about raising kids and how sometimes kids, we know them this way, but the minute they step out of the household, they're completely different human beings. So the point is how you experience your child may very much be very, very different to how other people experience your child. when you are not there. And when I was watching this man defend his own son, it made me think, like, maybe that explains why most of our parents are always quick to take the defense. They're always quick to defend us against any wrongdoing. So if your child is accused of wrongdoing, how far do you go to defend them? Or do you defend them in public and reprimand them in private? How do you deal with allegations of wrongdoing when your child is concerned? And it doesn't have to be like a big criminal matter. It could be that the child used a bad word. It could be that the child was disrespectful to the teacher and you're thinking, but how? That's not the man or woman I'm raising at home. So how do you deal with accusations towards your children? Be honest. Is your first motherly or fatherly instinct to defend? Or are you a type of parent that says, actually, let me hear from the other side what their story is, and then let me also sit down and talk to my kids and hear what their story is, and then you make a decision from there. Give me your thoughts on 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. How cautious are you when you are engaging with colleagues at work to avoid crossing the sexual harassment line? I'm asking this because I was reading in the Sowetan this morning a story about a Cape Town labor court that has, for a second time now, cleared a nursing clinic manager of sexually harassing her female colleague. And the case is raising some real questions about where friendliness ends and harassment begins. So the manager was accused of hugging her colleague, blowing her kisses, telling her she was beautiful, and brushing against her buttocks at a printer. And then there was an internal disciplinary hearing which found this woman who was accused of sexual harassment not guilty. And the ruling there was that they were, these were gestures of appreciation which were quite common in that workplace environment. So even the witnesses that were called, they said the manager hugged and blew kisses at other staff members too. So it wasn't unique to this person who made the allegations. The city of Cape Town took the ruling on review, but then the acting judge, Andre Easthuizen, dismissed that challenge this week, saying sexual harassment requires unwanted conduct of a sexual nature, and the evidence didn't support that here. So I want to know, how careful are you in your own workplace? Because now you have to be cautious, because you may be doing stuff that makes other people feel uncomfortable. And when people tell you they're uncomfortable, you have to take that. Whether you would feel comfortable or not if this was done to you is neither here nor there. This is how they feel. So how careful are you about how your words or gestures land on colleagues? Where do you personally draw the line between being warm and friendly at work and something that could be misread? Have you ever had to rethink how you behave with a colleague or pull a colleague aside about their behavior? 011-883-0702. And then my last question to you on the open line this morning is about songs that remind you of home. Like, do you have those specific songs or things that you do that remind you of home, especially for people who live very far from home, right? Where maybe you have moved overseas. Maybe far from home is where you grew up, but now you are living in a different province or town because of work or whatever circumstance. Maybe that's home, that is far. That's where your family is, like your wife, husband, or kids. Or maybe you've moved overseas. Is there music that you go to when you miss home? Or music that takes you back to a significant period in your life? Tell me what that song is and why, please. This for me is the song that takes me back to when I was a child. For some reason, I don't remember much from when I was like 8, 9, 10, thereabout. But there's a song that takes me back to that period of my life. Like, the feeling I get when I play this song is so familiar and so vivid. I can almost trace the day I was in that Catholic church with my grandmother, what she was wearing, and this song was being sung by the church, or shall I say the sisters. This is a rendition of that song that takes me back home. It's done by Ngobi Ngumalo, and the name of the song is Kobani. play you the lyrics of that song just as we start the show. That was the beginning of the song that I had sent, but I'll put up the lyrics. But the song is Kobani. It's a hymn that is sung in the Catholic Church, and like I said, I don't remember much about the period when I was around 8, 9, 10. But when this song specifically plays, it takes me back there, and I remember even the feeling. I'll play it properly for you. But let me tell you what else is coming up on the show. At 10 o'clock, we are going to do the Across the Desk feature, and today I'm hosting unconventional mayoral candidates, or maybe think of them as unexpected mayoral candidates, because a lot of people were quite surprised when they were announced as mayoral candidates, and I want to give you an opportunity to interact with them. Ntsiki Mazwai, who is with the Land Party. She's their mayoral candidate here in Johannesburg. Lukhona Mnguni is with Rise Mzansi. He is Rise Mzansi's mayoral candidate in Johannesburg. And Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng is the EFF mayoral candidate in the city of Johannesburg. And I want to know if you've got questions for them, you want to engage them, this is your opportunity between 10 and 11 o'clock. At 11, we'll do our relationship and sex feature. And today, we're talking about fantasizing about someone other than your partner during sex. It's adult radio. The kids are not allowed. We'll be talking about this. Is it normal? Is it wrong? How do you navigate that in your relationship? That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
And listeners, my name is Maisie, and today I am for life. At the sky yesterday afternoon, and it seemed like it formed a heart, like a heart shape of some sort. And I think it just reminded me of how precious life is, and that we, being conditioned to always work, always chase, always do something, always be something, but that moment of just pausing and looking up at the sky and actually realizing just how special and magical being alive is. So yeah, that is what I'm grateful for today. A bit cliche, I know, but I'm really grateful for life, being alive, and just having people to do life with.
Hey Clement, Zoli here, Gratitude Friday. I just want to send a big shout out to Constable Zipho Nyoka at the Douglasdale Police Station. Shame, this gentleman, he helped us, a few people who went to come and certify documents, but the fact they didn't have electricity, lights were off. He was certifying our documents through our cell phone torches. I mean, the other policeman, he literally discouraged him to help us because we're gonna come bulky. And man, this gentleman, he really helped us. And guess what? When I leave the police station, they were chatting outside with as friends outside, while this gentleman was only by himself helping us with certifying the documents. Really, there are good policemen out there. Kudos, Constable Ziponyoka. Thanks.
Love that. We spend a lot of time complaining about cops and some people who do the public service, and I really think that when there are moments of positive moments, we need to also be consistent and give them credit for that. So kudos, and to that constable, yeah, well done. Thank you so much for sending those WhatsApps. Amando, Rodney, I see you. I'm going to come to your calls in a moment. Here's now the actual song, because earlier on we paid you the instruments, but here's the actual song I was talking about, which takes me back to when I was probably about 8, 9, or 10, thereabout. And this is a song that takes me back home. What is that song for you, and why? So that's it for me. What is it for you? Let me know on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Amando, you calling us from Kempton Park. Good morning. What do you want to say about that testimony at the Madlanga Commission yesterday? Are you the type of parent that would defend their child no matter what?
Clement, you always ask the difficult questions, don't you? Well, those that have like 10 answers to it. You know, I think between a parent and a child is 99% of the time the most unconditional love that you can find. Normally between relationships, a marriage and a brother and a sister, you will have a conditional love. So on the condition you don't have an affair and you don't hit me, I will stay married to you and I will love you. But when it comes to a parent and a child, that love is unconditional. And I would find it personally extremely difficult not to defend your child. And that's just, and I don't know what it is, Clement, that's in your heart or in your nature to defend. So my son, for example, could do something terrible, be found guilty, and if the punishment is death, I will take it for him or for her. And I think this is a natural thing for parents. So we have this natural innate defense mechanism that doesn't matter. In other words, I will sit in jail for the 10 years if the courts allowed it and said, you can decide to do your son's time, I will do the time.
So even if he's found guilty?
If he's found guilty, I will do the time for him. And I just think...
So where's the accountability for him, though, Amando? I hear you.
This is the point. But Clement, you're right. You're 100% right. I don't disagree. But there's that natural, innate defense mechanism that you have for your kids. It just is the way. And like I say, a snake will bite you, you know, if you mess with it. And I think in parents, it's a built-in defense mechanism that I can't explain.
Yeah.
Like if my brother must do something, he can go and sit in jail, no problem. And whatever, but your own kid, there's this built-in thing that I can't explain what it is, and there's no accountability, which is bull. Be like that, but it is a Clement. And that's
Got you. Yeah, Amando, thank you so much for starting this conversation off for us. So Amando says, I would take a bullet for my child. I would go serve time even if he's the one found guilty. So what do you then do as a parent? If Amando is correct in that there's an innate, like inherently as parents, we just want to defend our kids, how do you then manage it? Because you're going to get it wrong sometimes. You are. There are times when your child is going to come to you and be the innocent kid you have raised in your household, but they are a monster outside of their home. They are bullies, or they disrespect teachers, or they're busy harassing other fellow learners at school. You can never... What was that song? Brenda? First, you can never confirm umuntu. You can't. And I worry about that. If inherently that's what you as a parent do when your child is accused of wrongdoing, you go on a defense, what if you're wrong? And why do we think of our children as these angels that can never have different personalities? I mean, you know yourself that there are certain things you did that your parents didn't even know about. And they would be utterly disappointed if they found out you did them. Imagine if there was an opportunity for a parent to go watch your video from the time you were died until now when you are 40 or 50 or 80. Would you be comfortable with your own parents watching that? Yeah, I didn't think so. So then why do we take the defense always when we deal with our children? Why are you not opening the window for... There's a possibility here that my child may have done this. You're not abandoning your child. You're just taking a moment to be reflective, genuinely, without being led by your feelings towards your child, which may mislead you. Rodney, you are in Joburg. Hi.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, I've just listened to Armando now, okay? I'll tell you my side of the story now. I would pose the question to Armando. Will his child do the same for him? Will his child die for him? That's just a question. He feels like that for his son. Will his son do the same for him? Okay, now, I've told the producer, I've got a son, he's 44 years now, 44 years old. When he was in his 20s, I actually told him, if you get into the wrong side of the law, if you do anything and you are being locked up, please don't call me, because you have done wrong. You need to account for your actions. And it happened so. One night, a policeman called me at night and said, your son is here at the police station. We have locked him up. He's asked me to call you. I said, I don't know. I didn't ask what the issue was. And then I got into my car. But then I realized what I told him.
Ooh,
I realized, I said, I turned back. I phoned the policeman. I said, sorry, sir, I can't come. Please tell my son. I had a conversation with him, and I told him if he gets on the wrong side of the law, he mustn't call me.
Okay, Rodney in Joburg, thank you. You see, for me, these are two extremes. I think Armando is extreme in that I'll take a bullet for my son. I'll even go serve jail time if he's done wrong. Rodney says, well, if you are in trouble, then don't call me. I think these are extremes, and I'm convinced there's a middle ground somewhere. Like, I would like to be a father that, yes, if your child has done something wrong, I still want them to be able to call me. But they must take accountability. They mustn't call me to go, oh, yes, I stole the money, defend me. No, it must be, Dad, I messed up. I did 1, 2, 3. This is the accountability I'm taking. I'm willing to go serve time in jail, and I'm never going to. Because what's life if it's not also about forgiveness and giving each other second chances? Sure, I get it if the child has done the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. But I want to give my child an opportunity to make amends. How do you deal with accusations against your own children? Which extreme are you on, or do you take the middle ground? It's 9:31. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Suspended MP Fadil Adams is defending his visits to the Westville Correctional Centre, over which has been charged with fraud in defeating the ends of justice. Adams is set to appear in the Pinetown Magistrates Court this morning. He is accused of interfering in sensitive police investigations when he allegedly visited prison with a police escort in 2024 and 2025 to interview two inmates, but without official mandates from Parliament. Two men arrested for violence during protests at PUT's Belleville campus are due to make their first court appearance today. Public employed to the institution earlier this week, where more than 1,500 people were protesting. A bit lighter in the yard was injured. And this disaster really has vast the hundreds of people still missing after a massive earthquake. Rescuers are digging for rubble following the end of a critical life-saving period. The strongest quake devastated the western cities of Cali and Pereira and destroyed nearly 13,000 homes across the coffee-growing region and along the coast. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling on the Mike 1 North, we've got delays just as you come out of the Boysons Road exits. That's due to an accident. And in the south of Joburg, there's some delays along the Golden Highway approaching Union Avenue. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along the route. Then if you're heading towards Bedford View, do expect delays on the N12 and the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Galulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 South. In fact, an accident right near the Galulis turn-off. Delays coming out of Linksfield Road. And then traveling in Cosmos City, there's some delays along the Malibongwe Drive towards River Road. Please approach with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Vandalism and theft of water infrastructure affects everyone. Damage to pipes, meters, valves, reservoirs, and other critical infrastructure can result in water outages, low pressure, sewer spillages, costly repairs that impact communities across Johannesburg. Johannesburg Water urges residents to help protect public infrastructure by reporting suspicious activity affecting the water network. To report incidents or water-related faults, call Johannesburg Water on 010-061-4470. That's 010-061-4470. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
The anticipation, the adrenaline, the roar of performance. Some experiences are so unforgettable, you can't describe them. You just have to feel them. The Shell V-Power Ultimate VIP Experience returns. Simply spend $750 or more your V Plus rewards card or app and stand a chance to win one of 15 exclusive Gen M Convoy tours. And that's not all. You could be part of VVIP hospitality events and track days in KZN, Western Cape and Gauteng. Visit shell.co.za for more info. T's and C's apply.
The world is moving fast. Consumer mindsets and preferences are changing in real time. AI is creating new rules and timelines are shorter than ever. At Plus 94 Research, we help leaders reduce uncertainty. We deliver authentic, real-time data grounded in proven methodologies and powered by relevant, cutting-edge technology. So when decisions can't wait, you move forward with clarity, confidence, and impact. Plus 94 Research, the science of decision-making.
The course is ready. The players are set. Watch as they step up to the tee and go for glory. From booming drives to crucial putts, birdies, eagles, and hole-in-ones, every shot could change the game. The tension is rising with every swing as the world's best battle it out. Explore an exciting selection of golf offerings with Hollywood bets and back your favorites on the fairway. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
24 minutes before 10 o'clock, I'm asking you on the open line this morning if you're the type of parent that takes the defense route for your child. So when your child is accused of wrongdoing, what do you do? Are you a type of parent that wants to hear both sides of the story, or the first thing you do, just it's innate, inherently, you just defend your child? I'm asking you this question because yesterday at the Madlanga Commission, we heard from the father of the late alleged gang leader, Bevan Loftus, and he seems to have a picture of a different person to the picture that the SAPS have, because they know him as this notorious gang leader. But the father of Bevan Loftus says that's not the child he raised, and he says that's not possible. But who can you say confidently as a parent that your child has never done 1, 2, 3? I've also asked you about how cautious you are when you're engaging with colleagues at work to avoid crossing the sexual harassment line. And of course, songs that are reminding you back home. What are those songs that you play when you miss home? Whether you're overseas or you live and work in a town that's far from home, or you work in a different province and your husband or wife and kids are in another. What is that song that takes you back home? I played you mine, it's Kobani, and that rendition was by Ngobi Ngumalo. I want to know what yours songs are that take you back home and they remind you of a specific moment. What is that and why?
Yeah, good morning, Clement. For me, is actually we were singing this with my mom and brother over the weekend. It's Kinzekli Belete Morena.
How I remember the song.
Homuna ditata homuna ditata honamau dung a Jesu homuna ditata tata hurataki Jesu.
Jesu. Oh, you just took me back to was it primary school or secondary school, and we were at assembly. That's the song we used to sing. My goodness. Yeah. There are certain songs. I mean, there are certain songs that when you sing, there's a familiar feeling. Like it's not a foreign feeling. And when you probe further, you will go back to that moment. I mean, I can almost see myself wearing my blue school uniform when I was in secondary school, singing the song.
Hi, Clement. You're giving me goosebumps. Good morning. Thank you for a lovely show. Oh, you're just taking me back to my childhood. I'm 53 years old this year, and under 5 years old, I used to go to church with my granny. Oh, that her favorites. While she cooks, when we come back, she would hum that, and I'd be hanging around her. She's late now. She passed at 101 years old. Oh, Clement, thank you so very much. I am grateful for that. Grateful for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We're grateful for you. Please keep the songs coming. What is that song that takes you back and reminds you of home? Or maybe reminds you of when you were in school, during assembly, whatever period in your life, that one song that when you play it, you know that that feeling you have is very familiar and it takes you back somewhere. It's 20 minutes before 10.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Madimich, Legai. Malo in Orange Farm. Madimich, I think for me, it ends when somebody doesn't even want to engage with you. If somebody doesn't want to engage with you, you shouldn't even be touching or brushing them. Why? There and there, that means you are emotionally abusing that individual if you are talking to them in a force. So I think from them not talking to you, it should be considered as one of those, this is where it ends. I don't want to talk to you. As much as friendship, we want people whom we don't want close to us to not speak to us or engage with us. That's the same way that sexual harassment should be treated. Thank you.
Yeah, Babalo, absolutely. In fact, if someone has indicated to you that, hey, I don't like you blowing kisses on me, it doesn't matter that you do it to 4 other people in the workplace. It's how they feel should be what is priority here. And I'm asking you about how cautious you are in the workplace because you have to avoid crossing that line. And the reason I'm asking this is because there's a Cape Town Labour Court which has found for a second time now, they've cleared this nursing clinic manager of sexually harassing her female colleague. And the case has raised some really serious questions about where friendliness ends and where harassment begins. So we have to be very careful even in the workspace. Very, very careful, because part of the complaint from this employee at the clinic is that, this senior manager used to hug her, used to blow her kisses, used to tell her she's beautiful. At some point, she even brushed her hand against her buttocks when she was at the next to the printer. But the senior manager says, no, but I was passing by. It wasn't an intentional thing that where I grabbed it, the buttocks. So there was an internal disciplinary hearing, and some of the witnesses said, no, that's whatever these people have been engaging with each other is normal. That's how the senior manager treats all of us. He hugs us, he blows kisses to staff members. So there's nothing unique there about what this other employee who's complained has been subjected to. But also, just because somebody else accepts it doesn't mean everybody else is okay with it. Which is why it's always important to watch out for also the signs, because sometimes there's non-verbal feedback to say, I don't like that. That's a bit awkward. So how do you navigate that space? Justin, you're calling us from Sophia Town. You want to talk about disciplining children. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure.
How are you, sir?
Sharp, man. Go ahead.
I will discipline my child publicly, out of law. I'm not against Orlando by saying that Armando, by saying that we have this unconditional love between a father and a child. Yes, that's no discussion. But when he did something wrong publicly, he has to be punished publicly. So next time he's not going to do that again. Because when you want to die for him, you want to go to jail for him. So it will be cool. Okay, I will do such a thing, and then my father will be here to support me. My father has my back in everything I will be doing. I love my child, but as the second caller said, I'm not going extremely there, but they are aware that if they do something wrong, you are going to be in trouble. If you do it publicly, you will be punished publicly. Out of law. So next time they won't do that again. Thank you.
Got you. Yeah, Justin in Sophia Town. Thank you for your thoughts. Let's go to some WhatsApps. 072
Hi, Clement. Great show as always. I'm going to want to be anonymous on this one. Clement, I worked in the police. I was one of the high-ranking officers, and my child was arrested in Pretoria for alleged drug using and drug possession. I did not believe it because I know how I raised this boy, but I never defended them. I never defended him. I just told them, I said, okay, let the matter go to court and let the evidence come out. And he was subsequently guilty. And I didn't feel bad. All what I want to say today, Clement, let the parents out there stop defending their children because they are not with the kids. The kids behave one way where they're at home and another when they are out in the street. Don't defend your child until the evidence arises. Thank you so much, Clement. Great show. Thanks.
Is there a parent who ever said that my son was on drugs? Parents always defend their children, Clement. Even this guy, we can see even him, that he has his own shenanigans. The way he has guns and bullets of AK-47 in his house and his garages and police uniforms, but he never brought it back to the police. Why wouldn't you, when you leave your job, never leave the vest and the police vest back to where they belong? So this guy, his son was killed because he was also operating with drugs and he knew a lot of information. So you just need to be honest.
Morning, Clement. Great show. As a parent, you defend your child with everything you have. You defend up to your last breath. And you don't embarrass or scold your child in front of people. That's what I've learned. They'll be accused of things, and we know children are capable of things. Some are bullies, some are so on and so forth. Nyaupe addicts and so on. But you defend your child and then you scold them or you deal with that particular problem at home. So if the school sends you something and then they say your child did 1, 2, 3, you say, okay, great, I understand. And you go deal with your child. That's what I've learned.
Good morning, Clement. I was raised by a woman who says, if you are not in front of me, I cannot defend you, but I will get to the bottom of it. So I'm taking the same approach with my son. If he's not in front of me, I cannot stand for him, but I will try and find the truth. Then when I find the truth, that's when we start punishing each other. Time out, taking the phone, not going to play, taking away all this nice stuff that he likes. That's the punishment he gets. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's fair, isn't it? I think it's fair. You can't really vouch for your child when they're not in front of you. And we need to learn that the same way that you, growing up, there are certain things you did your parents didn't even know about and would have been mad had they found out. That's a similar thing with the kids you're raising. So you can't think of them as angels. Yeah, they behave like disciplined kids in front of you. You can never say for sure how they behave out there. Yes, your teacher can tell you how they are in class, but who tells you how they behave when they're chilling during break or after school, when they're walking home, when they're in the school transport, whatever the case is? Then I think it's fair to say, I can't just take a defense. This is different to when your child has been pushed or another parent has slapped them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when a matter is raised and put on the table for you. I don't think it's rational to just go on the defense for your child. And yes, those people may very well be wrong. But you need to do your own work, investigate, find out what happened, because the risk you're running there is taking on some defense mode for a child who is a perpetrator. And I don't think that's how you want to raise your child, right? You don't want to raise your child to think they can do stuff and get away with it because, oh, but mommy and daddy know me like this at home, so they'll never believe that I bullied those kids. I don't think that's how we want to raise kids as parents. More of your WhatsApps about songs that take you back and remind you of home. Let's listen to some on 072 702 and 702.
Morning, Clement. Maybe I'm late, but I got into the car just as you were singing that hymn with the lady. This reminds me of primary school yaka CM Slapelo Seshego. Pula tsa lehlohonolo ha di na ka medupi.
Guys, we had the best song at assembly. What do you kids these days sing? What do you these days? What? What do you sing like in school? Like we had the best songs, really. I think when we were in school, the songs we used to sing during.
For me, the song and then might used to be so for me, I grew up in a family where we had struggle stalwarts like Dr. Joe Pasha, the late Thabo Mokaba, coming over to my hometown with it and all these other things. So my parents are late now, but every time that this song plays, I think back of those days, and these are the values that I've also grown on of non-racialism, equal opportunity for everybody. So that's my song, the Simon Vertifian Park.
Oh, Simon, here's a dedication to you, taking you back home.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace.
Oh, I hope that takes you back home. Ella Beck on the YouTube page says, Clement, my childhood song is A Whiter Shade of Grey by Buku Harum. I can still see the vinyl. Most beautiful memory indeed. If we find that song, Ella Beck, I'll play it for you. It's 7 minutes now before 10 o'clock. There's some WhatsApp voice notes that have come through responding to how you behave in the workplace to avoid crossing that sexual harassment line.
Hi, Clement. Sibongani here. I think one thing that seems to escape the mind is that as men, you're very careful about sexual harassment because everyone talks about it, about HR jokes and how quickly you end up do this. I'm just looking at a woman in a certain way. But the people that actually get away, surprisingly, with a lot of sexual harassment are actually women. Women will spank you, touch your arms, squeeze your arms, and it's all fun and banter, And as a guy, for you to go and complain and say, I think I was sexually harassed, is not even something I think about. So I think the other side of this coin now needs to be looked at properly, but I don't see that happening, to be honest.
Yeah, we just need to be extra careful and learn that when someone says, hey, I don't like what you're doing there, then yeah, don't do it. I've got some messages on the WhatsApp line of people who are sharing the songs that remind them of home. Abdullah Ibrahim, Manenberg. This is a message from Anonymous who says, "This reminds me of home. The Ramo Lubengs and the uncles would be there dancing with my dad." Another one says, "Clement, the songs that would always remind me of home is Ragohang Mashole by ZCC band. Honestly, any song by that band. Yo, I remember the song Ragohang Mashole. Yalwana. Oh, what's that? But I remember the song. Please, chapter 4. You sent you sent this text. Do you mind like reminding me of the how the song went? Because I would like to try find it and play it for you. Tato says, "Clement, Setswana hymn 60 in UCCSA, my childhood church. Although I'm now a Catholic, but my Christian foundation was laid at UCCSA, aka Lontone." That's a message there from Tato. Beautiful, beautiful songs that are really taking us down memory lane. What is that song for you that reminds you of home, or maybe even of what you used to sing at assembly?
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. And they asked me if I knew what their third-party policy entails. I said, "Third party? Whoa, big dog. I haven't even been invited to the first one yet." And they just put down the phone. I don't
get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
Make sure that your life-changing donation goes exactly where it's meant to. With Izinga Assist, you can give with complete confidence because every donation is secure, transparent, and traceable. Funds are safely managed through a dedicated ShopRite Money Market account, and you'll receive clear proof showing the impact of your contribution. Give with trust today at izassist.org. Izinga Assist. Doing good, done better. Proudly supported by Primedia Cares.
Mendy Winners podcast, The Hope Dealers, tells the stories of the people changing the narrative in Joburg. Mendy has spent weeks witnessing the passion and the collective action of the Hope Dealers, who are individuals and organizations working to restore and rejuvenate Jozi. Catch a new episode of the podcast on the Midday Report every Wednesday after the news headlines, or watch the full the Hope Dealers video on Prime Media Plus. This week, Mendy is at City Kids, an inner city school quietly changing young lives in the heart of Joburg. City Kids demonstrates that a different future is possible in one of the toughest parts of the city. The Hope Dealers on Prime Media Plus.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
It's now 2 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's wrap up with your WhatsApps that have come through on 0727021702.
Hi, we have parents problem. Once our child gets shot, we say our child was never involved, was never part of these criminal activities. But they post pictures with guns, even though it might be fake guns. They post pictures with hand gestures, gangsters, hand signs, signals. And then we want to cry. But we failed to see all the telltale signs. Now the child is dead. Now we almost believe that he was an angel. We know he's not an angel.
Hi, Clement. I do not protect my daughter at all. If I get called in the very few instances that I would get called in at school, whether it is for being disruptive in class or not doing her homework, I will make sure that I ask her questions in front of the teacher and hold her accountable. And more often than not, she would actually come clean about it. And also in the instances where it wasn't her, I will also hear her out. But what I definitely will not do is enable her, because I feel like that will be me enabling her, giving her leeway and enabling behavior that will come back to bite me again at some point in the future. Yeah, so I don't protect her. This is Demi from Centurion.
Good morning, Clement. Happy Friday. We are grateful and thankful for the gift of life. You know, my son said to me the one day, "Mommy, what you see here at home, things are happening outside. So when someone comes to you and say, I did A, B, C, and D, best believe them. because things are happening out there. So in that said, yeah, what else can we say as parents? You've given them the roots, and they've got the wings to do the right thing.
Hi, Clement. I think one of the reasons that parents are very quick to defend their children when they've done wrong is because the parents subconsciously see their children's actions as a reflection on them and a reflection on their parenting.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Controversial businessman Suleiman Karim is once again a no-show at the Madlanga Commission. He's refused to undergo an independent medical examination to justify his continued absence. More than 2 weeks ago, the Commission ruled that his testimony would only be postponed if he underwent an independent medical assessment to prove that he's really unwell. However, his lawyers today submitted a report from his current doctor outlining the state of his health. Evidence leader Adila Hassim says the report makes it clear that he refuses to undergo an assessment by an independent specialist.
The report essentially is an opinion by the same treating doctor as to why Mr. Karim could not consent to an independent medical evaluation, and it provides further material information regarding clinical information regarding his condition.
The case against suspended Member of Parliament Fadil Adams has been postponed to 11 September. Adams appeared briefly at the Pinetown Magistrates Court just a short while ago. He is accused of fraud in defeating the ends of justice over his visits to the Westville Correctional Centre in 2024 and 2025 to interview 2 inmates as part of an oversight visit, but without an official parliamentary mandate. Karinda Jagmohan is there.
Investigations into Fadil Adams' alleged unlawful oversight visit are complete, with his appearance in a regional court set for September. Adams maintains he was acting on a tip-off from apparent whistleblower Patricia Mashale to investigate alleged police misconduct. Meanwhile, Adams claims Parliament lied when it refuted allegations that he did not have access to his laptop, resulting in his late submission of an affidavit to the Madlanga Commission. Adams said his appearance before the Commission is due on Wednesday. Karinda Jagmohan, Eyewitness News, Durban.
The DA has warned that the ad hoc committee investigating police corruption can rely on hearsay and conjecture when it makes findings against implicated individuals. But Chairperson Soviet Lekhanyane says the committee fears becoming a joke among South Africans should it fail to make proper findings. Lekhanyane says where people have done wrong, the committee's report must be clear in holding them accountable. Babalo Ndenze has more.
DA Chief Whip Gladys Breitenbach yesterday warned that the committee has no power to decide on the guilt or innocence of anyone implicated.
We've also pleaded, Chair, that we do not spend time weighing up and making findings based on conjecture, hearsay evidence, wild flights of fantasy.
But Chairperson Soviet Lekhanyane says while the committee must work within the law, its report must be clear in its findings if it's to be taken seriously. The committee is currently discussing its 4th draft report after parties expressed their unhappiness with the previous drafts that made no adverse findings against anyone.
This committee cannot become a joke. Where wrongs have been made or committed, the committee must come out very clearly and unambiguously and say there was a wrong here.
The committee has until the 11th of September to conclude its work after being granted another extension. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
2 men arrested for public violence during protests at CPUT's Belleville campus are due to make their first court appearance today. Public order police were deployed to the institution earlier this week, where more than 1,500 students were protesting. A building was set alight and a security guard was injured. The police's Wesley Twigg says they're monitoring the situation.
Western Cape Police are urging those who participate in protest action to do so within the ambit of the law. Those who find themselves on the wrong side of the law will face the consequences of their actions.
And Colombia's disaster relief chief has vowed to find the hundreds of people still missing after a massive earthquake. Rescuers are digging through rubble following the end of a critical life-saving period. The strongest quake to hit Colombia this century devastated the western cities of Cali and Pereira and destroyed nearly 13,000 homes across the coffee-growing region and along the coast. The 7.4 magnitude tremor struck on Monday, killing 281 people and injuring almost 4,000, while 379 others remain missing. Gold is trading at $4,334.28 an ounce. The rand is at 16.19 to the dollar, 21.86 to the pound, 18.69 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $87.88 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 South. That's between Linksfield Road and the Gilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 North. This is towards the Gilulis turnoff. Also on the N12 West, heading towards the Gilulis turnoff. This is as you come out of Edenville Road.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Controversial businessman Clement Karim is once again a no-show at the Madlanga Commission.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702 and thank you for your contributions as always on the 702 open line. It's now time for our Across the Desk feature.
Across the Desk
With Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
So on our Across the Desk feature this morning, I'm doing something that you have asked me to do. There are mayoral candidates in Johannesburg that you felt, oh, I didn't expect that. But you were interested in hearing what their vision is for the city and you wanted to engage with them, you want to hear them. So what we did is call them up to come and sit with us on Across the Desk so that they can share their vision for Johannesburg, but also you can also have an opportunity to ask them questions if you have any. You can do that on 011-883-0702. That's the WhatsApp line. You can also, that's the number to dial. You can also send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. So help me welcome Ntsiki Mazwai, who is the Land Party mayoral candidate, Lukhona Mngoni, Rise Mzansi mayoral candidate, and Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, who's the EFF mayoral candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners.
Welcome to 702. So there are some listeners who said, okay, it was obvious with the other parties who they were going to go with, but when you guys were announced, they felt, oh, I didn't expect that, but I really want to hear what their vision is. Can I just start maybe with, have you always thought you would do this before, Ntsiki?
Actually, not at all, but it's actually not surprising considering that I've always been a so-called armchair critic.
Yeah.
Always been criticizing the politicians. So I just thought, Yazin, let me do this myself.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it coming, but it's a privilege and I'm here to serve my people.
Yeah. Lukhona, for you, because we used to speak to you as a political analyst. So, when's the galani?
Well,
are you still an analyst?
Well,
that's what. Now you got your
answer.
Yeah.
Now you get your
Now I
answer.
got my answer.
No, I mean, Clement, many journalists would have probably first encountered me when I was a young student in the Congress of the People, actually.
Yeah.
So this tag, political analyst, just came as an aftermath of that period. So I've always been, politically interested in the country, and I've always known that for me, public service is one of the things we should treat as a singular honor. And when an opportunity presents itself, one must be ready to put up their hand, because you cannot, as I said somewhere else, you cannot analyze your country to its death, and you just keep, you take it to ICU, you take it to palliative care, you do these things. You're just walking it to its death trap, whereas active citizenry requires some of us, or all of us in actual fact, to be politically interested, whether through our vote, through our activism, through our political participation, and through availing ourselves for public office sometimes.
Yeah, and Dr. Taleng, I mean, you've spent your career in global health advocacy. You've done a lot of work with the United Nations. Was this a tough decision for you to decide, let me serve my people in Johannesburg?
No, it was an easy yes when the deployment came. For me, it was at the end of my tenure at the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health after 6 years, but really a decade of working in the multilateral diplomatic space. And so the question was, what comes after? And there's always been that feeling that something was bubbling under, but I had no idea that it would be this. And so I was quite comfortable with actually not knowing up to probably the last few days of my tenure, actually, that this would be the deployment that I take on next. So incredibly privileged that the organization and the ground forces have that faith and trust in my leadership.
Okay. So I want to then give all of you an opportunity to just share with our listeners what your vision is for the city of Johannesburg. What are your priorities? What are you engaging with the potential voters on? And what are you promising to change? Let's start with you, Ntsiki. What's your vision for Johannesburg?
Okay, well, one of the obvious things is that we need to clean up Joburg, not just aesthetically, but also the governance. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of money being wasted. When you look at the bad debt happening with our budget, about 40% of it is because of corruption and because of leakages and losses, things that actually can be controlled if you've got the correct leadership there. So besides actually cleaning up and creating more green zones, especially like places like Alex, we have to focus on poor people. I feel as if the privileged have had a long run of 32 years of enjoying themselves, and we've left a lot of people out in the cold. So one of the policies of the land party is that nobody gets left behind. So it's a time for those who have to start looking out for the have-nots. I do want to have an economic indaba. We have to start creating funds for that, for entrepreneurs and small businesses, so that we can grow our economy and create more jobs. You saw that the stats were out a few days ago, and we're doing really badly in terms of unemployment in the country, which gives rise to issues like the March on March issues that we're having in the country right now. So for me, it's about creating more employment, getting the public sector and the private sector to collaborate and create more opportunities for entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Lukona, for you as Rise Mzansi in the city of Joburg, what's the vision?
Well, as Rise Mzansi, the very first charge is to the voter themselves, that it's about time they do the right thing and vote Amasela out. Because the Rise Mzansi vision sees no light of day if the voter doesn't do the right thing. Amasela does not really represent a singular political party. Amasela is an ecosystem of wrongdoing, both inside council, in the administration, and the cartels and syndicates that are partly yo-yoing politicians into their will. And that's the first part. Our vision for Joburg is a safe, clean, and prosperous Joburg. And we've got 6 pillars that are guiding this plan. The first is rooting out criminality. There's just so much criminality in Joburg, in the streets, in terms of corruption and procurement, hijacked buildings, illegal immigration. That all falls under the pillar of rooting out criminality. The second pillar is service delivery. You cannot pay for things and not receive them. You cannot pay prepaid electricity. You don't know when it's going to be on, you don't know it's going to be off, your water, and so on. The third pillar is on spatial reform. Here we focus on public housing and public transport. Just a quick example on public housing. Where we've built in the city of Joburg a lot of public housing, places like Soweto, there's about 3,500 job opportunities. Where we've built very little public housing, in places like Sentin, there's about 120,000 job opportunities for the working class. And therefore it means we force people in a spatial apartheid framework to work far from where they live. That is unacceptable and needs to change. The fourth pillar, Clement, has to do with entrepreneurship and the informal economy. We cannot criminalize people who want to make an honest living and not thieve, and then we just go around confiscating tomatoes and bananas. We need to help people comply with the bylaws of the city, and where the bylaws constrain the informal economy, those bylaws need to go. The fifth part is on these Joburg entities that everybody seems to be benefiting from the corrupt existence of your Johannesburg Water, City Power, Joburg Roads Agency, JDA. The logic may have been good initially in the early 2000s when these entities were formulated, but it's quite clear now that they've become actually a root cause of inefficiency and poor service delivery. They're no longer serving the service delivery agreements that they've signed with the city of Joburg, and therefore they need to go and we need to relook how best we integrate them to the city, and then we can talk later about what comes after them. And then the last part is anchoring a stable coalition. There's no doubt nobody's going to get 50% plus one. They can scream, they can kick, they can lie to voters. Nobody's going to get 50% plus one in the city of Joburg. So we need to start a very clear conversation with residents of Joburg as to what is the best formulation of a coalition. And as Rise Mzansi, we are putting ourselves across as a steady hand, as the elder in the room, that is going to be able to bring across the line a very stable coalition.
So what if you work with, to steal your words, amasela?
No, asizusebenza namasela.
Well, that's what they all said.
No. We will not work with amasela, and I can promise you right now that will not happen. The quality of leaders, everybody that comes to the table to Rise Mzansi, the first issue that's going to be on the table, who are the leaders you are putting across?
Dr. Tlale, what's the EFF's vision for Johannesburg?
So I want to locate my answer to obviously cover the things that a mayor actually controls in local governance. And it's important to have a political sort of location and grounding of the answer, because the EFF at its core is about centering the dignity of people and directly drawing from the constitutional framework that affords us, that influences our laws, policies, and bylaws, and how those are actually a human rights-based framework. And this idea of dignity, it's important because it demands that you listen to people. They know the solutions to the problems of their lives, but far too often they are seen as not expert or refined enough to actually have a seat at the table. So we will be having an approach that requires transparency in policy making, in amendments of potential bylaws. We are going to have a process again, that supports accountability in governance at the local level. It's important as well as we think about structurally what needs to happen for Joburg to thrive. We're currently inheriting a city, when I'll be the mayor of Joburg in a few weeks, that is already riddled with corruption and a corporate culture that actually rewards corruption at every single point of service. We need to remove the fact that you are already expecting to be asked for a cool drink when JMPD stops you. We have to remove the expectation and the preparedness that taxi drivers have, that they have extra cash on them when they get stopped because they're trying to get commuters around the city to participate in the largest economy of this country. So this idea of corruption is not just something that does not have consequences. It leads to death. We have a lot of whistleblowers like Babita, who was honored by the EFF long ago, actually, for being a whistleblower, but was incredibly let down by the system. So the transparency element and accountability element in how we approach the local elections and what we do after is very important, and it sets the tone for what we will be able to withstand, what we will not stand for, because then it erodes the dignity of people, it makes governance opaque, or there's lack of accountability. More directly, we are going to look at procurement as transformation policy in the city of Johannesburg. Right now, no matter what tendering process happens, you always know the top 5, the top 10 companies who will always be dominating in these processes. We need to be able to respect but support directly small, medium enterprises in preparing them for these processes, assisting them with mobilizing resources, assisting them with regulation and getting the required paperwork, but also removing that expectation of corruption and a jojo, right, in these processes. The other important thing is to also focus on the township economy as a very valid player in the Joburg economy. The same way that informal traders are, we need a one-stop shop that will assist people who want to participate as entrepreneurship, where they will be supported with entry points, whether they require a proof of address, whether they require a licensing or an apprenticeship certificate. It's very interesting, right, that the government often talks about integrated IT systems, but when are they working and who are they working for? Because we are constantly moving from one department to prove you're a citizen, to prove that you are a resident, to prove you have a bank account, and yet apparently there's this centralization. So we actually have to go in and not just accept things as normal. So there will be a process as the mayor where there will be time required to analyze what hasn't worked, why it hasn't worked, and be truthful, right, with the electorate and the citizens of Joburg about what can be tangibly reached. Healthcare, for example, which is my core expertise and an area of passion, we've already demonstrated how 24-hour clinics work. Our MMCs in the city of Joburg, both in public safety, have done incredible work, and health services. And so for us as the EFF, and the voters need to understand, we are not starting from scratch. We are building on the gains already made, on the experience already gained from our leaders. It's important to have maternity, units for women. We have to remove, of course, the battles and the obstructions of getting services in the healthcare sector, for example. When you move into, issues of trading, of entrepreneurship, of apprenticeship, it's important as the EFF to demonstrate, but also let the listeners know that young people are still being left behind by structural discrimination. We inherited a lot of apartheid laws that we actually did not question as we then moved into democracy, and we're applying them in a way that still makes people very unfree. So when you are interacting with Johannesburg as a resident, the space itself is physically telling you you are not meant to be here. When you are trying to engage with the city of Johannesburg politically, economically, socially, there is a feeling for many of the residents that the city is not fully theirs. So we want to actually focus on young people. We want to create recreational spaces, bring back the energy and the vigor and the beautiful ways in which arts and culture and sports was respected, but was a valid professional choice for many people. So we will be funding programs, and my, of course, other skill set is being a good negotiator, both in language, but also in policy making. And it's about showing that people can trust the governance that I will bring, they will trust the leadership, and they can open their hands again. A lot of companies are sitting with liquid cash in dollars in Johannesburg that they will not reinvest in the city because they don't trust what will be done with that money and the results that will be yielded. So it's about renegotiating a different kind of collaboration with the public sector and of course with the mayor that will then further mobilize resources beyond what Treasury gives the city of Johannesburg. But there is a political philosophy that's very important, a contextual history, and why certain areas will always be prioritized before Sandton, for example. But with a dignity-based approach, it says, how do we do this equitably with efficiency that does not lead to privatization or hidden privatization using the language of efficiency? How do we protect everyone's human rights, ensuring that they have access to underlying determinants of health, water, sanitation, food, and health environment?
Yeah, got you. It's 23 minutes now after 10 o'clock, so you've heard what their vision is for the city of Johannesburg. We're hosting Tsiki Mazwai, who is the Land Party mayoral candidate this morning, Lukhona Mnguni, Rise Mzansi's mayoral candidate, and Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, who is the EFF mayoral candidate in the city of Johannesburg. What do you have as questions for them? What do you think they need to prioritize? You can engage with us on 011-883-0702. I'll come to your WhatsApps as well on 0727021702.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Gambling responsibly is about staying in control so you can enjoy it your way. If you or someone you know needs support, help is always available. Call the South African Responsible Gambling Toll-Free Counselling Line on 0800 668 or to 0670710.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. They asked if they could quote me. I said, quote me? I said, but I think it's been pretty good. Mom always said I have a way with words. They just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurance authorized SB. T's and C's apply.
Unleash extraordinary with the all-new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 256 gig from Vodacom. Get it for just 1,549 Rand per month over 36 months on a 4 gig Red Core plan. Plus, receive an in-store accessory voucher up to the value of 1,000 Rand. It's your deal at 149 Rand extra per month and get the new Galaxy Wi-Fi eSIM. Available in store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Yo, nothing humbles you like a cold shower.
Happens fast, eh? What, you're living your best life?
Then you're questioning everything.
Bear, here's a quick tip. If he's up, don't wait for dessert. Smooth now, problems later.
And remember, if we'll shower in the lounge.
We've got loads more tips where that came from.
Quickot, #1 in water heating solution. Quickot,
add warmth to life.
Across the desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
26 after 10 o'clock on our Across the Desk feature this morning. I'm hosting the Johannesburg mayoral candidates you've asked us to bring in studio for them to respond to some of the questions you have. We've got the EFF mayoral candidate, Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, and the Rise Mzansi's mayoral candidate, Lukhona Mnguni and Tsiki Mazwai, who's with the Land Party. The question I got, the first question I got, in fact, before we even started this conversation, was around the private sector's involvement in local government. So Treasury is looking at this. When I interviewed the finance minister 2 weeks ago, he said the water ministry or department is going to present a paper, and what they're thinking of is bring in private companies to help with the delivery of services in the metros, because clearly they've given up on the functionality of the metros and the capability of these metros or municipalities to deliver services. Is that something that works for
not. I mean, first of all, water is a basic human right. We cannot be privatizing water. The problem with the municipality is actually the work. There's no consequence management inside the municipality. That's the problem. And there's a lot of leakages and losses, as I said earlier on. Where private investment come in, as I was saying earlier on, is we create funds that are going to facilitate growth and development in SMMEs and cultural sectors, because those sectors actually create jobs. And therefore, when there are jobs, there's more money circulating and our economy grows. But we can absolutely not have privatization in municipalities, because the job of the government is actually to ensure that services are flowing and working for the public, you know. The Joburg citizens are sick and tired of rhetorics. They actually want solutions. So we actually need to have leadership that's going to go in there and make sure that people are held accountable, that there are stringent consequence management systems, that there's quality control. That's the issue there. It's that people are not doing their jobs. So absolutely no privatization of basic human rights. It's ridiculous.
Look, on the argument that's come, because I did ask the minister about even the potential for prices to increase, because, I mean, if you bring in companies, but the private companies run things like a business. And it's got to make sense financially for them. But the argument is, well, the municipal council will still keep control of policy, tariff setting, service standards, so the private companies would only come in to provide capital and the technical expertise. As Rise Mzansi, is this something you think could work?
Clement, the Constitution of South Africa is very clear. And I think we are here because of the failures in the last 15 years in particular, in the city of Joburg, of the various political parties that have had an opportunity to put together coalition governments. And now National Treasury is trying to babysit local government. And these metro trading services reforms that are being proposed, by National Treasury are actually a potential risk to the residents who are already, by the way, paying very high fees. Just look at how much you get if you are on prepaid for electricity. For every 500 rands that you buy for, or every 100 rands that you buy for, the cost of electricity has just gone berserkly high. Okay, water is on a runaway increase as well. To bring in companies, as you say, I mean, go to Bolivia. They've tried to privatize water. It led to a massive social unrest because the prices just outpaced
Even in the
people.
UK.
So you cannot privatize the delivery of basic services. And when we say basic services, these are human rights entitlements. So it's not just water is life as a saying. It's a reality and it's a necessity for everybody. You cannot fuel the city without water. Now, what needs to happen is for voters to elect the right representatives into council who demonstrate seriousness in improving the state of governance in the city of Joburg. The second issue is to collapse these entities like Johannesburg Water, Joburg Roads Agency, because what you now have, when you have a water-based, Johannesburg Water comes and digs up, it doesn't fix it, says it's the GRA problem, and they go away. And the communities are now sitting with holes and holes and holes that have been dug up by the city and have not been fixed. What you need, Treasury is confusing two conversations. The conversation about service delivery and the conversation about capital mobilization for the sake of replacing water pipes and building the future bulk infrastructure in the city of Joburg. Where the private sector should be mobilized around is what are the best vehicles? So, for example, there's an idea that we are exploring in this campaign and consulting about, which is about an infrastructure investment company. You will remember that at some point in the province of Gauteng, much of infrastructure was unlocked by entities such as Blue IQ. The centrality of the state was not removed, but the question was, how best do you mobilize capital, and not capital just from capitalists. By the way, the biggest people who are waiting to deploy funds are pension funds, right? How do you ensure that there is but they're saying we're not going to give the city directly the money. So how do we build an entity that can mobilize capital from the city? Because our capital expenditure in Joburg, yes, is inadequate at 8.8 billion rands on a budget of 97 billion rands with an infrastructure backlog of 220 billion rands. So that is inadequate. So we must not confuse the conversation around capital mobilization so that we do not, because we're not going to loan our way out of the problem as the city of Joburg, and the service of the delivery of services. The delivery of services must remain within the municipal council, and that's why we talk about these entities, because these entities are themselves, whilst they are 100% owned by the city, they corporatize the delivery of services, and then they lead, lastly, to another wrong prescription, which is take money for water, ring fence it for water. Take money for electricity, ring fence it for electricity. But we know that cities have non-revenue generating services that they also provide to residents. How must those be funded if we can't cross-subsidize across the function? So I think we are conflating two discussions: service delivery by the city, capital mobilization, separate conversation.
As a private sector. All right, I'll give Dr. Tlaleng an opportunity to also respond to that question after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 10:32. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. We begin with some breaking news. The Madla Commission of Inquiry says it has been left with no choice but to refer controversial businessman Suleiman Karim for criminal prosecution. Karim has repeatedly failed to appear before the committee. His may unfit to testify. He once again was no-show scheduled appearance today, although the commission ruled that he should undergo independent medical evaluation to substantiate his absence. Karim has refused to do so. The case against Member of Parliament Fadil Adams has been postponed to 11 September. Adams appeared briefly in the Town Magistrates Court this morning. He is accused of fraud and defeating the ends of justice. And two men arrested for violence during protests at CPUT's Belleville campus are expected to make their first court appearance today. Public order police were deployed to the institution earlier this week, where more than 1,000 people were protesting. A building was set on fire and a security guard was injured. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, let's start off in the city of Tshwane. We've got a major accident along the N14 North. It happened right after the UFS Road turnoff. It's causing heavy delays. Please try to avoid this route, particularly if you're heading towards the CBD. Rather use the N1 North instead. And then we've got delays as well on the N1 South. This is just as you come out of the N4 exit towards Sefako Makato exit. There's also queuing traffic reported in Joburg along the N3 South, approaching the Kiluli's interchange. The delays are as you come out of Linksfield Road, while on the N12 and the R24 West, issues between Edenville Road and the Kiluli's interchange as well. Heading towards Amalgam, please be on the lookout for delays along the M2 West towards Main Reef Road. There's also issues along the Golden Highway. Roadworks are causing massive queues there coming out of the N1 exit. That's in the El Dorado Park area. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Since its establishment in 1990, thousands of successful leaders in the legal profession have walked through the doors of the Law Society of South Africa's School for Legal Practice. Not only do we professional training, but our legal schools across the country provide training in over 25 learning programs. For the best practical vocational training course for future leaders, come to LEAD. Visit our website on lssalead.org.za. LEAD, your #1 school for legal education.
Strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver the essential services that improve lives and support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Vandalism and theft of water infrastructure affects everyone. Damage to pipes, meters, valves, reservoirs, and other critical infrastructure can result in water outages, low pressure, sewer spillages, and costly repairs that impact communities across Johannesburg. Johannesburg Water urges residents to help protect public infrastructure by reporting suspicious activity affecting the water network. So to report incidents or water-related faults, call Johannesburg Water on 010-061-4470. That's 010-061-4470. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
Across the desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock. I see your WhatsApp voice notes that have come through, your calls as well on 011-883-0702. I'm going to come to them in a moment. But first, Dr. Tlaleng, if you can respond to that question about the private sector's involvement in the delivery of basic services in the metros. What's your position as the EFF on that?
We reject privatization in all its forms and how it morphs itself, right, and changes using the very same systems of racism, colonialism, and also imperialism. And we are directly and effectively and very clear and unapologetic that we also do not support extractive capital activities. We are also very clear as the EFF and through my mayorship, right, that we approach the issue of being a developmental metro, a city that wants to lead Africa. That's their tagline, right? And the question is, how are you going to do that if you treat development, if you treat human rights as a commodity? The danger of privatization is that it commodifies human rights to a point where those who are already less powerful, less empowered to be strung up in litigation, even the city of Johannesburg cannot afford to be strung up in continuous litigation about basic services and human dignity. The process, I think, that is required for the city is someone that has a formidable range in terms of understanding the different layers of governance from national, provincial to local, and how those spheres of government actually intertwine and interact. Because you may have legislation that actually impedes particular important developmental agenda for a city such as Johannesburg. We may also have to look outside of the traditional funders, right? Because we're going to have service delivery, which is the core competency of the city. And there are administrators and entities for that. But you are also going, as a mayor, going to have your own programs that you are driving in terms of the city of Johannesburg. And privatization is going to impede the actual participation in creating an enabling environment for people. Profits will always be prioritized before, for example, safety and security of citizens of Johannesburg. I am interested as a mayor to understand for the different sub-regions of this region, what is the daily experience of someone who wakes up at 4 a.m. to try and get to work? What is the experience of a gogo who's just received her SASSA grant but has to go beg at a municipal office that her electricity must not be cut off because no one has bothered to actually match her tariff rate to the fact that she's an elder who's already receiving a SASSA grant? I want to understand the issues, of course, that many people in Sandton, Rand Park Ridge, Craighall Park complain about. Potholes, the pick it up is not being picked up. Sometimes people are not told that there's even maintenance, arriving. There are hotspots where electricity or water often goes away. We also then have to think about, if we are so privileged in these areas, what does it mean for an informal trader who's trying to do the basic thing, which is put food on the table of a family, who then has to operate without electricity, without water, often outdoor, often exposed to extreme weather conditions, often black and poor. And so the approach is to understand, as your mayor, preparing myself to be your mayor, I'm concerned about how you are experiencing Johannesburg, and therefore how can my mayorship assist you have a city where you can thrive, where you can determine yourself, for Clement, what the future looks like, whether you are a business person, and a lot of manifestos focus on business. But what about the humans in the city? What about human development? What does it look like for us to have health and wellness and longevity, have prevention programs around violence, but also around mental health, around drug and substance abuse, how we help children through our municipal libraries, vision and dream and daydream, right? Privatization takes that ability away. And when it comes to investments, I want to talk about de-risking as an approach that I will take. The mayor, in my role, in my capacity, with all of the tools that I have, is to ensure that I de-risk ideas of Joburgers. I de-risk women-led businesses, business of LGBTQ plus persons, people with disabilities. That means that traditional financial models, traditional financial lenders may not be ready to do particular things that, inverted commas, they call risky. There is a particular way in which we need to mobilize resources, build collaborations, national, regional, and global as well, that will do three things: support programs, support us learning and monitoring and evaluating what's working, what's not working, and having the agility and speed to respond to emerging needs of Joburgers, but also continue with our core work, which is service delivery, buildings, running water, electricity, clean environment, and making sure that we actually are becoming a Johannesburg that is thriving.
Okay. Can I ask you guys to please put on your headphones? We're going to take some calls now and some WhatsApp voice notes. There's a message we've got here from Tlohi who says, "Hi Clement, I think this round of local elections in Johannesburg, the residents in Joburg are spoiled for choice. I love all of those candidates. I've followed their works and content, read their books, and agreed and disagreed with some of their thoughts and politics. But I think for the first time in a very long time, we have alternatives to the ANC. People cannot keep making that excuse anymore." That's a message from Tlohi. Leroy, you are calling us from River Club. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right. Go ahead, brother.
Firstly, I'd like to say thank you very much. This is a very enlightening topic and an important one. My question for the mayoral candidates is, how many of them would be willing to join a coalition with the ANC?
All right, Leroy in River Club, thank you so much for that question. Here's another one on the WhatsApp line on 072-702-1702.
Hi, Clement. I've got the question for the doctor there of the EFF. I acknowledge that I've been seeing changes, yes, on the clinics 24 hours and stuff. But the EFF has been responsible for public safety, community safety for the longest of time here in Joburg. And there's nothing happening. There is no change. I'm seeing every day the traffic officers collecting 20 rands, collecting cold drink. I'm seeing that they are not doing anything about the illegal immigration issue here in Joburg, particularly in Soweto. We're still experiencing Pakistanis in our spaza shops. You know, people that do not comply with our constitution. They are still there, and there's nothing that has been done about it. I'm aware that they've cleaned other informal business people outside the malls, but still illegal foreigners are not being arrested. So I want to ask, what is the intention about that? Thank you, Khotso.
Thank you so much, Khotso. I've got more questions, but let me give you guys an opportunity to respond to that. The second one was specifically for you, Dr. Tlaleng, but Nsiki and Lukona, there was a question there from Leroy about getting into a coalition with the ANC.
I'd like to answer that broadly. When it comes to coalitions, the Land Party is willing to work with anyone with similar interest in uplifting the poor communities. That is our priority. So if your party is about uplifting the marginalized, then we will work with you.
Is the ANC that party though for you guys? and look, I would advise that obviously be careful how you answer it.
Exactly.
In the past, that's why I was saying to you, Lukona, there are many parties who went and basically lied to potential voters and said, we will never, and they said it with so much confidence. And then things change, dynamics change, and they come and say, well, the dynamics require that we consider. So rather you say, I don't know, we'll see. But to lie to people and say, this is the line we're crossing, then it's disingenuous to come back and say, well, yeah, we now are forced to do this. So as long as the ANC puts up a plan that is in line with your policies at the Land Party, that's what you're willing to consider. I mean, you already have some kind of a relationship with the ANC?
Absolutely. Rise Mzansi is part of the Government of National Unity. Rise Mzansi is in the provincial government in Gauteng. And what is quite clear, though, from what I've been listening to very carefully to the residents of Joburg, is that what they would find intolerable is for the ANC to return as with an executive mayor in the city of Joburg. That is intolerable to the residents of Joburg. That they might be part of the city government is another story altogether. But to make them executive mayor would be a step too far. And I think anybody who's quite serious and is listening very carefully to the anger of the residents of Joburg, they wouldn't take that chance if they want political longevity. And therefore, what I'm trying to say in very simple terms, and the reason why is Rise Mzansi, we are very confident in this mayoral race and being able to anchor that coalition, is that in actual fact, I don't think in the city of Joburg anybody wants the ANC as mayor, and I don't think many residents of this city want to see Helen Zille as mayor, and therefore, for that reason, I think we stand a very good chance to anchor a stable coalition in the city of Joburg.
Would it be difficult, though, to negotiate with an organization that has the overwhelming majority? It may not be 50% plus one, but if the ANC gets, for argument's sake, let's say 30% or 43%, and it's the most voted for organization in the city, how do you then negotiate for a mayor to come from another party when the ANC says, but we got most of the votes?
They have 40% in Parliament. Makashule Ghana is the chairperson of the impeachment committee. He's from Rise Mzansi.
But who's the president of this country, even though the ANC has 40%?
In its former years, the ANC would have taken the chance, as they did with Abo Doris Tlakude, with that ad hoc committee that was reviewing the Public Protector report on Kandla. So times have changed, Clement. Times have changed, and everybody must wake up to the fact that times are different. Coalition environments are fluid. And in that fluidity, you then look as to what is the best formula to move the city of Joburg forward. And as I'm saying to you, Makashule Ghana emerged in Parliament as the chairperson of the impeachment committee from Rise Mzansi. He's also the whip of small parties, by the way, elected by the small parties in Parliament. So where Rise Mzansi walks in, there's confidence in the leadership that Rise Mzansi is able to provide.
Yeah. Dr. Klale?
So we have to treat, of course, local government as what it is. It's service delivery. It centers people's daily lives. And, of course, it's important that we pulled the citizens of Johannesburg first. Coalitions are always about negotiation, and this is where you see the art and the smartness of people. It's election campaigning. We are all speaking a smart game. And I'm saying vote for me as Dr. Tlaleng, who is one of the most respected global negotiators, because what is important is to find ourselves and each other and come up with frameworks that work for the city and the citizens of Johannesburg. Let me move to the next question because I think it was more direct to me. Immigration is an important issue, and migration as a concept is a human right. And South Africa and the city of Johannesburg specifically, that has a tagline of wanting to be a world-class African city. It's very ironic in different ways how we approach this issue of migration then as the city of Joburg with a tagline, like we want to be a world-class African city. Here is the competency of a mayor. It is to ensure that the JMP is led with dignity and honesty and integrity, that they are able and must enforce the bylaws of the city. What I will do as the EFF mayor, as Dr. Tlaleng, will embark on a program city region-wide that's going to assist with documenting people and moving them from irregular migratory status to actual regular documentation, depending on the many tiers of the kinds of documentation, visa classifications that people require. Not everyone requires a business visa to be here. The competency and what we need to understand as citizens, residents of the city of Johannesburg, the competency of enforcing immigration laws lies with national governance, Home Affairs, border management authorities, South African police. I'm not going to sit here and promise you to do things that I have no legal power or authority to do as a mayor. There is no legal framework for any mayor to participate in deportation of people. There is no gazette that I've seen where the president gives delegated authority to a mayor to do that. So we need to be very clear what we are asking for. And this is why I spoke earlier on about collaborations that are going to actually center what are the needs of the people of Johannesburg. We need to sit and actually quantify what worked, because what hasn't worked and why it's not working. And if there is a problem, Clement, my approach and my default setting is that one that says, how does the city of Johannesburg collaborate with the province, with the national departments, and quantify for them how their lack of doing their job is impacting the city. And as your first citizen, my job is to actually bring that advocacy everywhere that I go, that places the issues of concern to you. And there'll be many other emerging issues that we will need to deal with. Why we follow the law and legal frameworks and the powers and authority given to us. I don't want to be a mayor that spends her entire mayorship wasting the resources of the city in litigation.
Yeah.
Let's move to the safety and security issue in our MNCs.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
They are the part of the executive. They are not the executive. The mayor is, which is why I'm saying vote for me directly, give me the numbers required, that I can then do what needs to be done and not be begging for a coalition, because again, we are then going to be caught up with having to negotiate and finding each other with very different ideologies with these political parties. And the MMCs can only do so much in terms of being visionaries and drivers of everyday programs, but that's still not the executive power. The mayor is, and that is what we need. And then I will be supported by MMCs who then share that vision, and you have that harmony in governance, and that's what the city of Johannesburg deserves.
Here's another voice note.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning to the listeners and the mayoral candidates. My question relates to the entities that fall under the city of Joburg, that is your JRA, Joburg Water and City Power. I think oftentimes when we log calls, they do mention to us that they have a shortage of resources, particularly in Alexandra. We have an issue with blocked stormwater drains. And it takes JRA close to a year to assist us in unblocking the drains. And it is the same. So mostly they say that they do not have enough resources into all of these calls. Those are the sentiments that are shared by City Power, but also to effect repair. So it seems there is a problem or a shortage for these entities. So how are the mayoral candidates that these evolutional, that they have sufficient to ensure that they serve to the people and don't only act or deliver services with the worst case scenario. And that is what we're experiencing in Alex. You can imagine what Alex looks like with all stormwater drains, and so forth. This is Zelda Hlongwane for Alexandra.
Agency being taken to build capacity though.
We already have instances within departments. In actual fact, we have duplication poignantly because we lot of activists in Alex and spending a lot of time and and so on. What have been neglected, whether it's waste, filth, roads, the stormwater, waste pipes. I visited also he literally had sewer bubbling inside his yard, and he showed me his communication with the councillor. He showed me his reference number when he had locked the matter, and actually there was just no responsiveness until I pressured Dada Morero on social media, and then the next day the sewer pipes were unblocked. The reality is that there is also systemic neglect of certain communities, not just because there are no resources. Yes, there are no resources in the sense that JRA at some point ran out of fuel, couldn't even get its fleet onto the streets of Joburg to get the work done. You need, Clement, to end this. The reason why these entities must go is because they also externalize the work. So they outsource the very functions that they must do. So you've got a lot of contractors across all of these entities, which then raises the cost of delivering the services. So you need cost efficiency in how you deliver the services. So you need to cut these multiple middle so-called business people who don't even do the work as properly as possible. In Alex, with City Power, you also have issues with mini substations that are blowing up, many illegal connections. There's a lot of, pacts that need to happen between the city and the community to make sure that, people are actually connected properly. In some instances, people are saying, we want to be connected properly. We want to pay to the city. We don't want to be illegally connected. We understand that this is heavy on the infrastructure. It blows up mini substations, blows up transformers, and so on. So let us have a pact with the city. But City Power is not responsive as it should. The last part about logging, these calls that people log. Johannesburg Water, for example, you log a call. It's almost like around the clock, every 72 hours, the log is closed in the system as if the matter has been resolved. But in reality, the matter has not been resolved. And guess what? Some people are claiming on those tickets of resolved issues. So that is the kind of criminality, as Rise Mzansi were saying, must be rooted out. You need to streamline service delivery back into the city, Clement.
Yeah, I'll get both of you to respond 1 second. Soli in City Deep, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Sheitada, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I'm quite impressed about the intelligence of all the mayoral candidates here. My only problem here is whatever they are saying, are they gonna be implementing that? And then my other wish is one party should actually a party should get outright majority, in order for them to rule the province or maybe the city. So that they don't have to get into a sort of a coalition where they need to be, always negotiating for some type of agreement on whatever issue that the city has.
Yeah, true, and that's what all the parties are hoping for. Soli, thank you so much for calling us. You're impressed with all of them. Good luck deciding who to vote for. Dr. Kaleng, the question about the Johannesburg entities.
So, of course, the entities have to prove that the monies that are entrusted upon them in those budgets, they can be managed well. And when they are not, there must be clear consequence management. As the mayor, one of my priorities is to actually ensure in those first 100 days to meet with the unions, to also establish a new framework of engagement. Because often the citizens will tell you, we report corruption, there's a few steps and a few disciplinary processes or a few steps, but things never get to conclusion. And then, of course, you get the issues of, people requiring fair representation depending on what is being alleged. And so the involvement then of external parties, third parties who are there to support the people, even on a legal advice, sometimes leads to a breakdown of communication, of trust, of process. A lot of the times issues end up with the CCMA, Labour Court, and there's a protracted process. And so there is a re-engagement with stakeholders that are key to the functioning of the city of Johannesburg, who are not necessarily employees of the city.
Okay. Got you. Ziki, your
Okay.
view on the entities?
Yes, Alex is actually one of my priorities when I step into the mayoral office. And we want to introduce a service delivery tracker. So you should be able to follow and track what's happening when you call in, how far along it is. Obviously, we're going to have to start insourcing. There is a problem with a lot of too many fingers in the pie, and we want to do away with the tender system because that's where a lot of the red tape is, and a lot of the backlog is being created by that. So that's how we, as the Land Party, will deal with that.
Yeah. Tsiki Mazwai, Lukhona Mnguni, and Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, thank you so much for coming through to engage with our listeners. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you,
It's a minute before 11.
Attention livestock owners, protect your farm and community from foot and mouth disease. Never move cattle, sheep, goats or pigs without required official documentation. Ensure all animals are legally branded or tattooed. Always follow veterinary quarantine rules. Illegal animal movement sees and destroys livelihood. Search FMG WhatsApp for outbreaks and state vet details. Brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Nothing's more than anything in life. Going from being a pet princess to leading the convoy. Enjoy your glow up in the Haval Jolion Pro with the slick design, a panoramic sunroof, and a 1.5 engine. Visit GWM.co for a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you, a division of West Bank, an authorized financial services and registered credit.
Thandiso Mazwai will be singing Huma Sikela plus over 40 world-class acts, 4 iconic stages, 1 unforgettable experience at the Sandton Convention Center. This is Jazz Reignited. Get your weekend pass for the 25th to the 26th of September now via Ticketmaster.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We begin with breaking news. Madlanga inquiries have been left with no choice but to refer controversial businessman Suleiman Karim for criminal prosecution. Karim has repeatedly failed to appear before the commission, claiming he's medically unfit to testify. He was once again a no-show for his scheduled appearance today, although the commission ruled that he should undergo an independent medical evaluation to substantiate his continued absence. Karim has refused to do so. Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga, who chairs the commission, says they've had enough of Karim's repeated attempts to avoid testifying.
The commission is minded to refer Mr. Karim for a criminal process. What the relevant authorities do in that regard is for them to decide. Whether it's taken to the South African Police Service for them to see whether they can lay charges, or the National Prosecuting Authority for it to see whether to prosecute. That's their decision. That is what the commission, as we are sitting here, is minded to do.
In another development this morning, a second suspect linked to an alleged human trafficking syndicate in Durban has been arrested. The 48-year-old is expected to appear in the Durban Magistrates Court today after surrendering to police in Durban North. His arrest follows that of a 65-year-old prominent businessman earlier this week who's listed as the first accused in the matter. Both suspects can't be named as yet because they are yet to plead to sexual assault charges against them. KZN Hawk spokesperson Philani Nkwalase.
He will be facing charges of trafficking in persons, sexual assault and kidnapping when he appears in the Durban Magistrates Court.
The case against suspended Member of Parliament Fadil Adams has been postponed to 11 September. Adams appeared briefly in the Pinetown Magistrates Court today. He's accused of fraud and defeating the ends of justice over his visits to the Westville Correctional Centre in 2024 and in 2025 to interview 2 inmates as part of an oversight visit, but without an official parliamentary mandate. Karinda Jagmohan has more.
Investigations into Fadil Adams' alleged unlawful oversight visit are complete, with his appearance in a regional court set for September. Adams maintains he was acting on a tip-off from apparent whistleblower Patricia Mashale to investigate alleged police misconduct. Meanwhile, Adams claims Parliament lied when it refuted allegations that he did not have access to his laptop, resulting in his late submission of an affidavit to the Madlanga Commission. Adams said his appearance before the Commission is due on Wednesday. Corinda Jagmohan, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And 2 men arrested for public violence during protests at CPUT's Belleville campus are due to make their first court appearance today. Public order police were deployed to the institution earlier this week, where more than 1,500 people were protesting. A building was set on fire and a security guard was injured. The police's Wesley Twigg says they're monitoring the situation.
Western Cape Police are urging those who participate in protest action to do so within the ambit of the law. Those who find themselves on the wrong side of the law will face the consequences of their actions.
Gold is trading at $4,334.28 an ounce. The rand is at 16.19 to the dollar, 21.86 to the pound, 18.69 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $87.88 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North approaching Modderfontein Road. That's due to an accident. There's also slow-moving traffic on the N12 West between Edenville Road and the Glulies interchange. Please be on the lookout there.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. The breaking story in EWN this hour, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says it has been left with no choice but to refer controversial businessman Suleiman Karim for criminal prosecution.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. It's time for Adult Radio. No children are allowed for this conversation.
Relationship issues.
Relationship talk
On 702.
On our relationship and sex feature this morning, we are talking about fantasizing about someone other than your partner during sex. Is it normal? Is it wrong? Have you ever been judged for doing that if you've shared it with your partner? Have you ever fantasized about someone else while having sex with your partner? And if you have, did you feel guilty afterwards? Do you think you can fantasize about someone else and still be completely in love with your partner and fully attracted to them? What questions do you normally ask yourself if you find yourself in those shoes? No judgment, just honestly, have you done that, and how did it make you feel? I'd like you to give me a call on 011 8830702 or send a WhatsApp voice note or a text on 0727021702 to share your own experience with us. I mean, imagine you're in bed with your partner, things are starting to heat up. You are thrilled by their touch. You are aroused by foreplay. And then suddenly your mind drifts to someone else entirely. Maybe it's that attractive coworker. Maybe it's an ex. Maybe it's a complete stranger you saw at the coffee shop. And you start imagining being intimate with that person. And immediately the guilt hits you and you start shifting back to the partner that you are with, and you start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Does this mean I don't love my partner? Am I a terrible person? I think this is one of the topics that can create a lot of shame and secrecy in relationships. People often carry so much guilt about their sexual thoughts that they either shut down sexually or they become disconnected during intimacy. And yet, sexual fantasies involving someone outside the relationship are not as unusual as we might actually think. So, what's been your experience? Have you ever fantasized about someone else or imagined someone else having sex with you while you are busy with your partner, your husband, your wife? And did you feel guilty afterwards? Is it something you share with your partner? Or are you worried that they may take it too far and start making all sorts of assumptions? Let's talk on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's 072-702-1702. Lisa Welsh is a sex and pleasure educator who always guides us through these important conversations. Lisa, welcome back to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait to get into this one.
So is it normal to sexually fantasize about someone while you're having sex with your partner? Or is it considered cheating?
Well, you'd have to see what the listeners say, but I would tell you it is normal. In fact, it's close to universal. It's very, very normal for people to have sexual thoughts about other people other than their current partner. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to have sex with that person. So, this is something that nearly everybody that's listening can probably admit that they've had some kind of fantasy, whether it's a movie star or, radio DJ, somebody that they just, think about occasionally sexually. It doesn't necessarily have to be when they're with their partner, but yes, that can come up. It's pretty normal.
Sure. And I mean, there are some people then that feel guilty when they do it. And there's all sorts of questions that they ask themselves. And one of them is, am I not attracted to my partner? Like, why do I need, because already the messages, I mean, the first message that came through earlier, and I'll read it much later, the listener says, well, I do it so that I can reach orgasm, so I can climax.
Yeah.
So the question then that person would ask themselves is, okay, if the man I'm having sex with, to use that example of this listener, if that man is unable to get me, then why do I need to think and imagine myself having sex with someone else to get there? Is it so what must be the approach? Must we be okay with that? Because at the end of the day, it gets the work done. It makes you reach an orgasm. Or should you have conversations with your partner about how they can change and what they can do during sex to help you reach that stage without thinking about someone else? Or is that asking too much?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of questions in there what you asked, and they're totally separate because our mind is a powerful tool, right? Our mind is a powerful tool for our sexual health and our sexuality, and our brains are not naturally wired to be monogamous. When we make a promise to a partner, we are promising to behave in a certain way, not necessarily to think in a certain way. And as you mentioned briefly, that message from the listener, a fantasy is an arousal generating tool. It helps us get there. It helps us get closer to feeling turned on. It doesn't mean that our partner is not somebody that we're attracted to sexually. It just means that we're reaching for erotic material that does it for us for whatever reason, because fantasies can be so wide ranging. It doesn't mean that we actually want that thing. And even if we do want it, it doesn't mean that we intend to do it. So it's a separate conversation to ask your partner to help you to get there with like technique or changing things up. It's a separate thing to say, how can I become more attracted to my partner? Is there a conversation to have there? Those are really separate from fantasies that you're having. And for some people, the fantasy might be problematic, and that's something we can talk about. But for the vast majority, they are harmless and they are just a machine that gets us aroused, gets us efficiently turned on.
How do you then convince the partner? So let me ask it this way. First of all, should you be telling your partner that this is what you fantasize about? And I'm asking that because I can imagine how that can be hurtful for the other partner, right? In some cases, maybe there are other partners who are so, sexually liberated and they have these conversations and they talk about their fantasies openly. But if you say to your partner that, hey, that guy at work that I call my work husband or that lady that I call my work wife, sometimes I think about them when we have sex and I reach an orgasm. That could be hard for someone else to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as much as we can say, we know our fantasies don't mean we necessarily want to act on it. We don't want to hear that our partner is having that fantasy about their work husband, for example. So, do you tell? It depends. And it depends on how much you tell, right? Because, yes, being honest is important. Honest communication is important. And sharing these things builds intimacy. But let's think about it. Why do you want to tell them? Do you want to tell them to get closer? That's a good reason. Is it something that you think could bring you closer together by saying, I fantasize about, especially if it's, not a specific person. But if you're trying to offload your own guilt, if you feel guilty that you're fantasizing about this person, then that's not a good reason to tell. Like that's, don't just want to offload what you're feeling, like hand them your discomfort or even to hurt them. Some people might say that to hurt their partner, say they want them to change something physically about themselves and they can say, I fantasize about this person because they look better in that way, for example. So those are things to think about. Why do you want to tell them, number one? And then you could always explain, yes, I do have fantasies. And I'm sure you do too. You could say, I fantasize about this certain kind of person. Like, I'd love to hear about your fantasies, right? That can be a safe way of having a conversation. But if it is specific about a specific person that you both know, then that's not usually constructive, especially if that person keeps coming up again and again. And that might be something that you want to look at in yourself. Maybe ask about that.
Yeah, okay. What if the person you are thinking about during sex is an ex or someone then close to you? Like, is it then justified that you should feel guilty because why are you thinking about your sex? I mean, because it does happen, whether we like it or not, Lisa. Sometimes you will meet people who really give you better sex than your current partner. And the person who gave you the best sex ever maybe was someone you engaged with in your past. So should you feel guilty for thinking about them like that during your intercourse with your current partner? And I'm now addressing the guilt and not so much the sharing that with your partner, more like someone who's listening to us and who says, Ish, I feel guilty because I love my husband or I love my wife, but hey, sometimes I think of my ex because of the kind of sex we enjoyed in the past.
Well, let's think about it this way. It is very natural for us to think back on a highly erotic experience, like a peak sexual experience that we had with an ex that was incredible. You can't just forget it or wipe it away, especially when we're looking back with rose-tinted glasses that remember that time, right? These peak erotic experiences are important to us as humans, as in our sexual development. It makes sense that when we are bringing up a fantasy to help us to get turned on, right? We're looking for efficiency. It makes sense that an ex comes up. That's an efficient, unavailable person. An unavailable, exciting person, that's like highly arousing. So rather than try to feel guilty, because you can't go against the way our minds work, it just sometimes shows up that way. It is not a judgment on your marriage. I think a lot of people might disagree with me here or feel triggered by it, but it's not a judgment on your marriage or how much you love the person that you're with now. So it's just the way your brain works. And it can give you a clue. Like, what was it about that peak erotic experience that was such a great turn on? And what aspects of it can you bring into your sex life now? So use it as fuel. Like, there's something about that memory that does it for you. How can you use that to fuel your future encounters?
Mm-hmm. But fantasizing about someone else doesn't necessarily mean you want that person in real life, right? It's not like, oh, if I met them somewhere and we were together in one room, I would jump on them. Doesn't necessarily mean that, does it?
You're right. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. That thought that you're having is not evidence that you want it. We know that to be true because how many people have forced or non-consent fantasies? They are very common, but it doesn't mean that people want to be assaulted. It just is, it's one of those forbidden things that come up. And it's complicated. Our minds are not easy to understand, and sometimes we don't need to figure it out. It turns us on. And therefore, as long as it's not feeling distressing to us, then it's okay. We can go along with it. So for a lot of the fantasies, there's not evidence that we want it. It's just our arousal system reaching for something that will
Yeah.
efficiently get us there.
All right, we've got some calls coming through, some WhatsApp voice notes as well, Lisa. So I'd like to go to them as we continue our conversation. Let me start with Mpho, who's calling us from the East Rand. Mpho, good morning.
Morning, Clement, and morning to your guests.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I concur with your earlier comments from your guests that it happens a lot. And judging from what some of my friends and other guys I've interacted with are saying, it happens a lot, and it's sort of part of lovemaking, of having sex. I don't think a lot of us guys who do it feel guilty afterwards. But it sort of it becomes normal in inverted commas.
Who do you
Because
fantasize about, Mpho?
it could be an ex, like
Okay.
you said before. It could be an ex. It happened in one of my previous relationships a long time ago. I fantasized about an ex of mine. I haven't had maybe someone that I was crushing in terms of maybe a celebrity or something. It needs to be someone I used to know.
Okay.
You know,
And that's
sometimes
because you
find
guys
it-
had really great sex, and that's why it's a memory that still comes and the feeling that still comes, and that's why you want to try.
Yeah, and largely we do it because we want that final push. Because sometimes you find yourself with someone you don't find overly attractive, but you don't want to hurt the person. You care enough about the person. Or sometimes you've been with someone for a long time that sex has lost a bit of its spark.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things you can't just be honest to someone because you're afraid of hurting their feelings.
Yeah.
So it becomes your little secret and part of your lovemaking, like I said.
Yeah, Mpho, thank you so much for calling us in the East End and for sharing your own experience with us. I appreciate it. Geez, Lisa, I pick up from what Mpho is saying there. It's what you always tell us whenever we have you on the show. Communicate. Why is it so difficult for us to have these uncomfortable, awkward conversations? Like because now Mpho says, I'm just, because I can tell you Mpho probably has ways he thinks they can improve their sex, but he's scared because that may land as if you're saying, oh, you don't satisfy me, or I don't like sex with you. Why are we so sensitive about issues about sex? We don't talk about that.
Yeah, it's true. And it is difficult, as Mpo said, it's like a secret that he holds. And I understand why he holds that secret, because saying that, he specifically said it helps him get there because maybe there's something that isn't working with his current partner, something he'd maybe like to do differently. And that's why he's fantasizing about the ex. And I would just like to pull out something that it made me think there, that if you're having a fantasy to raise your arousal in that moment, which you bring the arousal to the room and to your person that you're with, that is great, right? You can have that fantasy. But if you're having the fantasy to avoid the person you're with, I'm not suggesting Mpo is doing that, but if you are having a fantasy because the person you're with, there's something not compatible or there's something not working, or what is it that's turning you off, and how can you address that? How can you address that kindly? Maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe you need to go to therapy to help you with that. But it's an alarm bell if you're using a fantasy chronically every time to avoid the situation you're in. Then that's a sign that you need to look at something more within the relationship.
Okay, so you need to, I get it now. So if it happens once in a while here and there, then maybe nothing to worry about there. But if it's something you're doing every single time to get yourself to climax, then that's a bit problematic. You may want to look into that. Is there a link though between fantasizing about someone else and relationship dissatisfaction? Like when you fantasize, does it mean the sex with this person you're doing it with now, the sex is bad?
It doesn't necessarily. And even when you summarized what I said, and you summarized perfectly, I felt like, but that's not quite right. Like, it's correct that it's a lot of people will fantasize every single time, and that is normal and it is okay. But what becomes problematic is like I said, if it's chronically about the same person, that you're avoiding the person you're with, if it's distressing to you, like if it's actually causing you distress, about a lady who had a man made out of wicker, like a basket. He's like a wicker basket man. And he's like her perfect man. And the movie looks so interesting. And I'm seeing so many reviews from women who are saying, wow, never thought I'd be so turned on by a basket. You know, it's not that we want to have sex with a basket,
Yeah.
but what is it? It's the idea of this person made for us, created for us, who, it's look deeper into the fantasy if you wanted to find what are the threads that you can bring into your current sex life. Like that's what I would really encourage people to do. Where is that arousal coming from? Bring that to your current situation.
Here's a WhatsApp that's come through.
Hi, my name is Katie. Yeah, I have once fantasized about this other guy that was my crush while I was with my partner. I think after that I knew that it's shy with my partner because I've never felt anything with him ever again ever since that time. So yeah, it's possible. Mainly when you are checking out of the relationship, I think. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. Here's another WhatsApp.
Clement. Hey, Clement. My ex once said that for him to get excited in bed, he has to think about me. Otherwise, he just doesn't. It just doesn't happen for him. He ended up separating with that person beginning of this year. I felt so disgusted. I just felt so disgusted that he even had the guts to come tell me that nonsense in my face. Maybe he was trying to explain himself, but hey, I know, man.
Or maybe he was trying to say, I need you back. And I mean, that's a weird, awkward way of saying it. It's so weird.
Yeah, it
But
is.
also, I get why you would also find it to be like quite disgusting. Like, why are you even telling me that? Okay, here, let me play another one and I'll give Lisa an opportunity to respond to some of these WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement, and your guest. Yeah, for me, I consider it, deeply inappropriate to entertain such while being intimate with my partner. It constitutes a profound disrespect towards one's partner. Honestly, within my cultural values and personal convictions, such is completely unacceptable and fundamentally inconsistent with principles of respect and commitment. Just not acceptable, honestly. Elia in Pretoria.
Thank you so much, Elia, for sending that. Lisa, any reflections on what some of the listeners are sharing?
Yes, especially the last one. I mean, the feeling of disrespect, and that it's not compatible with commitment. I totally get where he's coming from on that. And so what I would say is that fantasy is not the opposite of commitment. Your behavior is where you show your commitment. It's very hard to police your thoughts. It's very difficult to do that. But what I would say is that if you are using a fantasy, I'm repeating a little, but wanting to position it in response to this, that if the fantasy is like the match you ignite to get you present in your body and in the space with your partner in that moment, then that is acceptable. I think that can be acceptable for most people, right? It's not that you are mentally elsewhere when you're with your person. And if people are struggling with this, like if they're finding that they're lost in their fantasy, then something that they can try is opening their eyes to bring you back to the reality and really focusing on the sensation in your body. Like it's fine if you need to use a fantasy to ignite that passion, right? Get you mentally there, because getting our minds in the game is one of the hardest things when we're having sex. We've spoken about that a lot, and it's normal for your mind to wander. But what we don't want is to get stuck feeling guilty about a fantasy during the moment. That can happen. We start judging ourselves about, oh my goodness, why am I thinking about this? I'm supposed to be in love with this person. So instead of either getting caught up in the fantasy or the guilt around the fantasy, allow it to just ignite the passion, and then open your eyes, come back to your body and your partner, and really focus on what is happening there.
Okay.
Then I would think that could be considered acceptable and not disrespectful. You're not trying to disrespect or avoid or escape the reality of what you're doing in that moment.
Yeah. Okay, so what? I'm trying to just make it more practical. Should you try and always open your eyes if you want to snap out of those moments during sex? Because now I imagine someone listening to us may feel the minute I see my partner closing their eyes, I'm going to assume they're thinking about someone else. And that's not always the case, is it? Or are you saying that the minute you start seeing that you're imagining another person and you want to snap out of it and come back to the moment, rather open your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want people to generalize too much on
Yeah.
that, because some people feel far more comfortable with their eyes
Yes,
closed and
yes.
feel more safe. But my suggestion was, if you are closed your eyes and you're really going deep into a fantasy, you're lost in an imagination, then and you want to get back to the moment, then try opening your eyes if that feels comfortable. That's yeah. It doesn't mean if your partner's got their eyes closed that they're
Yes,
thinking of
please. Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah. I'm glad we clarified that, because
Yeah.
no one's someone to get home and they're busy with the partner. Partner closes eyes and they're thinking, who are you thinking about? How dare you? It's 11:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, I see more of your calls and WhatsApps. We'll get to them as we discuss this concept of fantasizing about someone else other than your partner during sex. Do you do it? Do you feel guilty when you do it? Why do you think you do it? Have you ever spoken to your partner about it? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. Balik Maki has got the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says it has been left no choice but to refer controversial businessman Clement Karim for criminal prosecution. Karim has repeatedly failed to appear before the commission, claiming that he is medically unfit to testify. He was once again a no-show scheduled appearance today, although the commission rules that he should undergo an independent evaluation to substantiate his continued absence. Karim has refused to do so. Suspended Member of Parliament Fadil Adams claims Parliament lied when it refuted allegations that his state-issued laptop malfunctioned, causing him to submit a late affidavit to the Madlanga Commission. Adams was addressing varying allegations against him outside the Pinetown Magistrates Court this morning, where his fraud and defeating the ends of justice case was postponed to the 11th of September. The case stems from his oversight visit to the Westville prison in 2024 and 2025 to interview two inmates without official parliamentary mandate. And Colombia's disaster relief chief has vowed to find the hundreds of people still missing after a massive earthquake. Rescuers are digging through rubble following the end of a critical life-saving period. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Bedford View, we still have got delays on the N3 North approaching the Kilulis turnoff, as well as on the N12 West and the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. There's also some issues along the N3 North towards Moerfontein Road while traveling in Kaya Sand. Delays along Malibongwe Drive, this is towards River Road. Please be on the lookout there. And then traveling in the city of Tshwane, some issues along the N14 North coming out of UPS Road. Please approach with care, particularly heading towards the CBD. Rather use the N1 North instead. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
I haven't noticed before, and you can correct me if I'm last year's members of the EFF being targeted. Someone from the DA, someone from Build One South Africa. Is there enough there to say there's a trend of more parties being drawn into this kind of violence?
I think from a statistical point of view, it'd be very difficult to say that this is a new and emerging trend. The spread of assassinations across multiple political parties and the shift we've seen, for instance, again this year to political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. There were fewer in KwaZulu-Natal.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
The conversation doesn't stop when you get behind the wheel. With the Prime Media Plus app, you can now listen to 702 through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, seamlessly integrated into your vehicle. No dropouts, no detours. Stay connected to the latest news, insightful conversations, and the voices you trust, all in crystal clear digital sound. Download the Prime Media Plus app today and take 702 wherever the road leads.
Hey, we buy cars. How does it work if I want to sell my car?
We'll drive to your place. You can visit our pods. Even if you don't have space, then at the mall in a parking lot, we've lots of depots all across the land. Contact We Buy Cars. You're in safe hands. Safe hands.
Wow, that's great.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
Ish, I love my hometown, but for too long now, I look around and think we deserve better than this. The water goes off for days, the streets are falling apart, and things never get fixed. Look, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I just want basics to work. And I know they can work because I've seen it where the Democratic Alliance is in charge. I want our town to work for all. So in this election, I'm voting DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
Relationship issues?
Relationship Talk
On 702.
24 minutes before 12 o'clock on our relationship and sex feature this morning, which is adult radio. Please remember that. If you've got kids in the car, you may want to change the dial or give them something to listen to, but you must listen to this conversation if you want to check it on podcast later on. It's quite an important one. We are talking this morning about fantasizing about someone else other than your partner when you are having sex with your partner. It's quite a common phenomenon, but there are many people who pause and think, is it normal? Why do I feel guilty? Is it wrong? Have you ever fantasized about someone else while having sex with your partner? And what did you do that for? Some listeners earlier called and said, I just do it when I need to climax. And if you have done it, have you ever felt guilty about it? Do you think it says something about your how you feel or how you are attracted or not to your current partner? No judgment. Just share what your experience is, please. Let's start with Dogozo, who's calling us from Joburg on 011-883-0702. Dogozo, good morning.
Clement, good morning.
Hey, Tada.
How are you, my man?
I'm all right, brother. Go ahead.
Well, it's normal, but it's not good. It's not good, Clement. Well, I have fantasized of my ex while I was my current. But it's not good because it became a habit in a way that I would now fantasize of every maybe woman I saw during that day. When I'm with my partner now, I'm fantasizing of that woman. So it's not good. It becomes uncontrollable in a way that. It's not good for a human mind.
Got you.
You
So
understand what I mean? Because,
how do you do it now then, Dogozo? Because if it's do you try and as much as possible to stay focused on that moment with your partner to avoid thinking about someone else, or so have you found a solution? Perhaps is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I'm no longer doing it. Well, it was hard for me to cling away from it because it became a habit now. I had to fight to like cling away from it, but it's not a good thing. So I would not advise anyone to do it. We need to be gatekeepers of our minds. You know, if we let anything in our minds, it sometimes it becomes uncontrollable.
Got you. Dogozo in Joburg, thank you so much, brother, for your contribution.
Morning, Clem. This is Anonymous.
On this sex topic, sex feature, well, for me, it's sort of a problem because I've also lived through it, that experience. Well, I've had an ex that after a while, like after I'd say maybe 3 months after we broke up, she got with another guy, and for some reason I felt like she had not moved on yet, you know? And she'd be texting me. I think we talked like 2 months after the fact, like after us breaking up, and she said, "Dude, I can't get over you. Every time I have sex with my partner, all I can think about is you." Right? And then she said, can we meet up? Let's talk and let's see how we can deal with the situation, you know? At that point in time, I was single, right? So we met up, or she came over, and one thing led to another, and we had sex again. So, which is why for me, I honestly do not feel comfortable with my partner, or would not feel comfortable with my partner telling me that they're fantasizing about a person from work or stuff like that, because I know for a fact that that could turn into reality, you know? Cheers.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, Lisa, you're welcome to respond to any of those comments, but the question I had was around fantasy becoming perhaps a form of escape, like a way maybe of mentally leaving the relationship when sex or intimacy isn't satisfying. Because also it's naive of us, excuse me, it's naive of us to think that, you know, if you have a partner, for as long as you're with them, sex is gonna be like 10 over 10. I mean, if you're doing that, well, congratulations to you. if you've been with your partner for long and sex has always been 10 over 10. But I guess the reality out there from the experiences being shared is that that's not always going to be the case. So some people will say, well, this is a form of escape for me. This is me mentally leaving the relationship when sex or intimacy isn't satisfying until me and my partner are able to come back together to build that sexual tension and arousal again. Does that make any sense? Lisa?
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can
I was
hear you
going to say,
now.
can we start by addressing what you asked? Because
Yeah.
that was very interesting, the form of escape. So, and then we'll work our way backwards because there's a lot to talk about
Yeah.
here. So, the mentally leaving and trying to bring spice in a long-term relationship is a really big one. And I think that's where we can use our fantasies as a tool within certain parameters that the two callers actually really brought up in a great way. But using our erotic mind as a way to continue the fire in a long-term relationship can be really powerful, especially if it is not about somebody particular, right? And the motive is to bring arousal to the relationship, to keep your own fire stoked so that you can share that together. And maybe it's something that you can share together, you can disclose. For example, you want to, say, for example, someone is fantasizing about seeing their partner with somebody else. It doesn't mean that they want it to happen, but it means that they are able to maybe talk about it, imagine different ways that they can bring it to life, right? So maybe you can bring in role play, like you can say you fantasize about a movie star and you'd ask for your partner to maybe dress that way a little bit. So it's using it as fuel. It's finding ways that you can use the fantasy as fuel together without it being hurtful, right? So that does require some gentle navigation because yes, there's a lot of insecurity around this, and it's very charged. We could tell from the two previous callers. So I think you're right. The form of escape, but if you can escape together, that's a win. If you can use it to bring spice, then that's a win. So let's talk next about the ex who told him, I still fantasize about you. My first thought is, what was her motive? I think her motive, it sounded like she wanted to have sex with him. She was telling him, I can't stop thinking about you. Maybe it was still very early days of breaking up. I can't stop thinking about you. Every time I have sex, you're the one in my mind. And let's meet up to talk about it. Like, what was the motive there? I imagine that she wanted that to happen. But the two layers, there's like a couple of layers to it, because for most people, the fantasy isn't what they actually want to happen, right? Because people fantasize about people they don't like, that people that are not attractive, or even that they find irritating, or about people hurting them. And that's not what they would want in real life. But sometimes the fantasy is a want, right? That's valid. What that caller was saying is sometimes you fantasize about somebody that you do want, that you do find attractive, that you do feel drawn to. So in that situation, it's another layer here. The wanting is not the doing. So you're not pursuing them. The behavior is not that you're going to pursue them, right? But this is what becomes a gray area. And this is what a lot of the callers are saying. What if you do want them? Then that's something to think about. If you have a fantasy, a recurring fantasy about somebody that you would like to do something with, but you're just not going to, then what do you do about that? Is that something you address? And the previous caller who was saying he worked actively to prevent that and to gatekeep his mind, then that's something we could look into, right? If we find that, I mean, he specifically mentioned those fantasies were unwanted, out of control, intrusive. He didn't want to have that fantasy. It was impacting his current situation, his current relationship. And if you find that is happening, then yes, gatekeeping your mind. I mean, that's a very tricky thing to do without guilting or shaming yourself, but realizing that this is problematic. How can I replace that fantasy with something that feels better? Or how can I reach that erotic charge without constantly focusing on that other person? What can I do to bring myself back to this present moment with this person? Sometimes people do need professional help with this. If there's a fantasy that is causing a lot of distress, then professional help is available through therapists, for example. But otherwise, realizing it's a habit that's not serving you, what can you replace that with? Whether that is a different kind of touch in the moment, whether that is, breathing differently, thinking about something else, having a movie on, like having a music on, something that brings you a different source of mental stimulation during that moment. So much to chew on here.
I know.
Hi, Clement and your guest. I completely, utterly disagree. I disagree. If someone is fantasizing about someone else whilst with me, clearly should the opportunity come, could you trust Dracula with blood? Nice show, guys.
Good morning, Clement and 702 listeners. And your guest, Lisa. Woo! Lisa. There are things that we might take lightly, and there are things that they kind of like kill you emotionally as a person, especially when it comes to sex. I think fantasizing with someone, fantasizing with porn, fantasizing with, to me, it's sort of cheating. I think it's mental cheating, that one. Because what makes you enjoy, it's not me who's making you enjoy, it's the fantasy that you're having that is making you enjoy. Just imagine if I sit down after we're doing a pillow talk and tell you that I had to fantasize about my ex for me to come. Yo, it's Max here from Honeydew.
Yo, Clement, I just thought of the partner closing eyes. My current partner, from start to finish, her eyes are closed. I've asked her, why are you doing this? She tells me it's for maximum pleasure, but I've always thought, what if? Anyway, now I don't really have an issue with her fantasizing about an Anthony Joshua or a Roman Reigns or somebody. Saying Tsepo from down the road, that will be a problem for me, because I've in my past I've thought of Beyonce and Rihanna and stuff like that during sex. So at least those people who are far, far, far out of reach. Yeah, now if she's fantasizing about that guy from next door, or what?
See what I was trying to avoid, Lisa, earlier is I don't want people to now say, Ish, now that you mention it, my partner has been closing eyes from start to finish. Maybe they're thinking about Tsepo or John from the office. But he says that, look,
you did.
As long as
you foresaw that,
right?
Yeah, I would say then for some people, they keep their eyes closed because it feels safer, or it allows them to be more present and more like in
or maybe they're
tune with the
shy.
sensation in
Some
their
people
body.
are just shy.
Shy. Definitely. Don't read too much into
Please.
it. I was just using it as a tool. But these were interesting. I mean, these callers were very interesting. That like the fact that it's going to kill you emotionally, the mentally cheating. And I do get it. I'm not denying that hearing that your partner is fantasizing about John from next door feels good. It doesn't feel good to hear.
No, it
That can
doesn't.
be hurtful. It definitely can. And just like weaving it in with the first caller there that was saying that the trust, like, would you trust Dracula with blood? I get it.
Yeah.
Trust is a massive part of this. But are we now trying to have a monogamous mind? Is that realistic? Yeah, we are trying to capture and force something to behave in a way that we can't. I mean, how do you control your mind? That's really difficult. How do we control our partner's mind? Do we have any right to? What we do have a right to when we say vows and when we make promises and commitments is to certain behaviors. And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I understand it can be problematic, and there are situations where we do want to change maybe our habits and things that are not helpful to our current situation and the person that we're with. And I understand why it feels safer to have a fantasy with someone that's far out of reach. But yeah, it's this idea of mentally cheating becomes a gray area. It's very hard to police.
Does it matter though, Lisa, if someone says, because sure, you can think of someone who's too far from your scenario or context, like that listener who says, I've thought of Rihanna and Beyonce during sex, fantasized about them. But if I were to ask you then as my partner, and I say, if you tomorrow were to find yourself in one room with Beyonce, for instance, let me use that example, would you act on it? Because sure, that's far-fetched. I know it is, but I'm now testing your not the mind now, because the mind took you there. I'm now testing, let's resolve. What's your resolve if physically you are with this person here? And maybe, yes, there's still a celebrity that you admire, that you fantasize about. Here they are in one room. For whatever reason, we don't know how they ended up there. You are there. Would you act on it if that opportunity presented itself while you and I are in a relationship?
Absolutely. And you hear people say they give each other a pink slip. Like, you get a pink slip. So if you happen to be in a room with Beyonce, go for it.
But come tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. But then the interesting thing here is when we start to have those kinds of conversations, we can look at the nuances. Like, what is it about Beyonce? Is it, something that she's wearing? Is it the confidence? Is it like, what is it about that fantasy? When you really look at it, sometimes the fantasies, especially if we have more than one fantasy, there can be a thread running through, and it can give you insight into your erotic mind. Our erotic minds formed far before we could even really have an understanding of what we were thinking. It's fascinating when you start to really look at fantasies. They don't have to make sense. They don't have to really be logical in any way. And it doesn't mean that you want them to happen. It's just a very bizarre, very interesting thing that our mind does sometimes to help us get there, which, as far as we always talk about, removing shame, for some people, the shame is the turn on. We are all so different. And that is why I really struggle with the idea of polygamy fantasies are. And and there should be some element of exploration and freedom there, in my opinion.
More WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement. Very interesting topic. I think what let's do, and been in so many circles with different guys that have echoed this sentiment, is that in order to avoid having to come quickly during the sexual encounter, they imagine the worst experience they've ever had, so that it takes away from the pleasure they're experiencing, and then it delays ultimately the coming. But imagining someone else that's taking it too far.
Was that a little one there? I heard a baby.
That was
I heard a baby there. Yeah. Remember, it's adult radio. I hope the person who sent us the voice note heard that. Also, maybe when they were sending the WhatsApp voice note, the child was there, but when they listened to the conversation, the child wasn't really paying attention. Sorry, Lisa, you wanted to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you how powerful our minds can be, right? So for a lot of people experiencing either early ejaculation or delayed ejaculation, your mind can come in as a tool to help either way. So if you're ejaculating more quickly than you want to, then using your mind, but like an opposite fantasy can slow you down sometimes. And if you have delayed ejaculation, which a lot of men do, a lot of people are experiencing that, then sometimes tuning into a fantasy can help you get there. It doesn't, it can be all kinds of things, but I mean, we haven't even mentioned porn at all. And for some people, it's replaying those visual images in their minds can help them get there, especially for people that have become accustomed to using that visual tool. So that's a whole other conversation.
Great show. Lisa, I have a beautiful friend, absolutely gorgeous. But I will not tell her that I actually fantasize about her mother. I'm not telling her that.
I hope she doesn't listen.
I'm getting goosebumps just listening to that. Like
it makes sense. You know why? It's forbidden.
Oh,
Forbidden,
so it's the forbidden
impossible,
fruit.
out of reach. Absolutely. It doesn't mean that he wants to do it necessarily. It definitely doesn't mean that he would do it necessarily. But it's very attractive. It's very exciting to have an attractive person plus an obstacle, right? If they're forbidden, impossible, absolutely shocking and taboo, that's perfect fuel for a fantasy. It doesn't mean it's right that we think it, but it just is something we think.
Yeah. Here's the last one.
Good morning, Clement and the guest. So now what happens now if you are fantasizing about this person during the intercourse and then you happen to mention their name?
Uh-oh.
Is that fantasizing? Just in love with that and all. I don't know what to say, but you mentioned that person's name during. So what is that?
Yeah.
Anonymous, thank you.
Lisa, that will get you in trouble, hey? But also sometimes, because when you're fantasizing about someone, I mean, what happens when you're getting too excited and, their name just slips out and you start calling your partner by the person you are mentally thinking about during sex?
Well, okay, run.
Run now.
No, but truthfully, if you are really in the fantasy with someone else to the extent where their name is on your lips, that is something you should question in yourself. You need to be still present with the person. I know that it sounds like a juxtaposition to say, it's okay to think about things, but still be present. That's why the fantasy can be part of the arousal process, but you need to still be present with the person you're with. It doesn't mean you don't love the person you're with, but it is not ideal to say someone else's name. Unless that's a particular kink you both share. That would be hurtful for somebody to hear. Absolutely.
Listen,
So,
even if it's someone too far, like imagine saying Beyonce's name during sex. No, just stay away from saying the names, okay? Lisa Welsh, thank you for speaking to us. You're always great in helping us navigate these uncomfortable, awkward conversations. I always appreciate your time. It's 2 minutes before 12.
You feel it long before it hits, the rumble of something big. That's 10Bet, where the stakes rise and every online game hits like lightning. Deposit 50 Rand or more and get the welcome offer package of up to 5,000. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help 076 675 0710.
Big advances in health are happening right here in South Africa. Local researchers are studying a new TB vaccine called M72 that could help stop people from getting seriously ill. And programs like Cochimpilo are helping men living with HIV overcome stigma, start treatment and stay on it through peer support and private chat guidance. It's South Africans helping shape the future of global health, supported by the Gates Foundation for 25 years. Partners of human potential.
Dad, how come Mom's not coming to my soccer game?
Well, Mom isn't allowed to come to your soccer games anymore.
Is it because she tried to tackle Coach KB for giving me a red card?
Maybe.
Humans who fiercely protect the people they love. Welcome. Search Liberty Protect to protect your life and legacy today. Liberty, in it with you, all of you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer, an authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. T's and C's, risks and limitations apply.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. and we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Good morning, Mandy Winner.
Good morning.
What's popping?
So the controversial businessman Suleiman Karim was supposed to appear at the Madlanga Commission. He has not. He's now going to be criminally charged for his no-shows.
Good.
And the doctor's also going to have to explain what was going on there. It's ridiculous. So we now have Advocate Ramsamy, who's back again. She's like the reserve they bring in every day when somebody else is too sick to testify. Fadil Adams appeared in court in KZN. We'll get the latest on that. We'll look at the opinion polls ahead of the local government elections. How much weight do you give to opinion polls?
We've gotten it wrong before, but we've also gotten it wrong in other times.
Got it right.
Got it right, times. Yeah.
Exactly. And Clement, it's Friday.
Spots.
And good things too.
Thank you for listening to the Friday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Monday, we're together between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful weekend, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Maki Mulapo. We begin in the capital where IDEC prosecutor Dushantha Ramsamy is back at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry continue with her testimony. Ramsamy is testifying about IDEC's investigation into the 360 million rand police tender awarded to a company owned by alleged crime boss Vusmusi Kat Matlala. She says former IDEC head Andrea Johnson was determined to have suspended National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola linked to the investigation. Ramsamy says Johnson initiated the investigation without following